Hello, everybody. Hi there. Welcome back to the You Are a Severance podcast with your refined hosts, Kali Thomas.
Hello.
And Rodnesha Green. Hi, Kali.
Hi, Rodnesha.
We were just talking about teeth.
Yeah, just venting about my dentist appointment this morning that nobody was present in the office for.
They weren't even there.
The door was locked, y'all. Oh, we didn't have you on the schedule. We don't open till 1. My appointment was at 10 a.m.
I was going to say, it's not like it was a late appointment.
Right.
That you could just, it's the middle of my day, whatever. You had to get up.
Yeah, I pulled up and it said the hours were 9 a.m. And I was like, interesting. It looks like it's closed, but I'll wait until closer to my time. I'm perpetually early, so I was there. And then I walk up like 10 minutes before. It's my first visit, so I know they might have paperwork I need to fill out and stuff. Let's go in a little early. Yanking on the door, looking like a crazy person. And then I was like, maybe this is old and they don't open till 10 and I'm the very first appointment and someone will, you know how people do. You be sitting at the front desk and people are at the door trying to get in, but you like,
I'm not opening this door until 9.
This door not open until 10 a.m. So that's what I thought was going to happen. But I called just to check, left the message, got a call back like, we're not there. Needless to say, I was hot.
I would be too. And you got kids. Ain't nobody got time to sit and wonder if they're getting into an office today.
Right.
Anyway, that's how Kali's day started. Mine started at 6 a.m. trying to get to a 7 o'clock appointment to get my car taken care of. We're being adults today, you guys. We are trying to take care of life things and be proper adults. And I don't know how you're doing, but I'm doing great.
Well, I think we both need a little escapism.
I think so too.
Our podcast today.
I think this is a great transition. Get us back on track. Yeah, guys, we are going to escape into an ethereal other world because as we mentioned last week, if you've been listening, we have delved into Dan's Sci-Fi Recs.
Woo-hoo.
And we are going to be covering 3 of Dan's top sci-fi films that have affected his worldview, writing, mentality, what have you. And today's movie is going to be Annihilation.
Ooh.
2018 Annihilation, just in case there's another Annihilation out there. Don't get confused. This is the one with Natalie Portman, prominently featured on the cover. So if you have not watched this movie, spoiler alert, we are going to spoil it. We are going to break it all the way down. So if you want to watch that movie and come back, do that. If you don't care about it being spoiled, hang tight. We're going to get there. But I do recommend watching it. It is a pretty good, solid sci-fi film.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I know. Oh, you know what? Actually, before we get into it, let's do our little clip so that you guys can hear what Dan had to say about why he chose this film.
Yeah, let's do that.
I love Annihilation. I think that's a great movie, especially the weird skull bear that speaks in the screams of its former victims. It's like, I don't know, if I wrote a scene like that, I would just stop writing because I'd be like, I did it. I finished.
That's it. And there we have it. He's a fan of the bear skull thing. And if you don't know what he means, you should watch the movie.
You should watch the movie. And if, again, you don't feel like watching the movie, we're going to talk about it. Okay, Kali, am I the only person that got this movie confused with Arrival? Because I, for a long time, would mix the two up quite often.
You know what is interesting? I missed Annihilation entirely.
Okay.
When I watched it, I was like, how did I miss this movie? And we'll go through the cast list in a minute, but as more people kept popping up, I was like, this person in this, and this person in this, and this person in this. How did I? And wait, when is this from? 2018? This was pre-pandemic when I was at the movie theater all the time. How did I miss this movie?
Yeah.
So I did not confuse it with Arrival because I didn't know it existed.
I did know they existed, and I, for some reason, in my ever melding brain, I was convinced that these two movies came out the same year, and it was one of those things where it's like similar but not the same, and Arrival and Annihilation, they're 2 whole years apart. So Arrival was in 2016, Annihilation was 2018, so I don't know where in my
Not
brain.
a deep impact Armageddon situation.
Not that situation at all. Or they put a wide chasm between the two, if so. But they give similar vibes. And having
Hmm.
recently watched Arrival, I don't remember why. I think it was just on, and I just was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this movie. And now having rewatched Annihilation, I was like, I'm not crazy. There are overlapping parts. Maybe it's because
Yes.
sci-fi, maybe because alien sci-fi, but like there's
Yeah.
some similarities there. So I'm not crazy in confusing them.
I did enjoy Arrival, and I enjoyed this.
Also, this was a book before it became a film. I didn't know that. I have tried to read the book before, or at least the audio book.
Hmm.
I got about halfway through it. The person who was reading it wasn't hooking me.
I was gonna say the audiobook is that's like a when you don't give a show a chance past the pilot. It's like
Hmm.
sometimes I think you have to read the book if you tried the audiobook and
Yeah.
it was just the narration.
Yeah. I did talk to someone who has read the book, and they were like, I think it's one of those books that you do have to read and not get the audio version of, because it's just so heady that
Mm,
I don't know that it translates all that well into an audiobook format.
yeah.
That's the word on the street anyway. All right, guys. So let's talk Annihilation. I'm going to give you guys a brief summary so you can get in the headspace for this. So, Annihilation is a science fiction film based on Jeff Vandermeer's novel. The story follows Lena, a biologist and former soldier who joins an expedition into a mysterious geological formation called the Shimmer. This area exhibits strange environmental phenomena, mutating plants and animals in unpredictable ways. And as Lena and her team explore this phenomena, they encounter a series of unusual and unsettling biological transformations. The film depicts the team's journey into this anomaly, highlighting the effects of the environment on their bodies and their minds. The story also explores themes of change, identity, and the intersection between humans and the unknown and evolving ecosystems. The plot culminates in questions about the nature of mutations and what lies beyond human comprehension. That is a brief summary. We will go deeper.
All right. So this packed cast, as I mentioned before, in order of appearance, we have Natalie Portman as Lena, Benedict Wong as Lomax, which we never get his name in the movie, by the way.
Yeah, we
So
don't.
in my notes, he's just guy in the hazmat suit. Sonoya Mizuno as Humanoid and Katie, the med student. David Gyasi as Daniel. Oscar Isaac as Kane. John Schwab as paramedic. Jennifer Jason Lee as Dr. Ventress, Gina Rodriguez as Anya Thorensen. I was like, Gina, what you doing here? Tuva Novatoni as Cass Shepard, Tessa Thompson as Josie. I was also like, Tessa Thompson, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Sammy Heyman as Mayor, Josh Danford as Shelley, and Kristen McGarity as Lena Double. This was written by Alex Garland and the author of the novel, Jeff Vandermeer, and directed by Alex Garland.
So that's kind of cool that the writer of the original source material
Mm-hmm.
and the director worked hand in hand
Yeah.
to create this. I think that works to this movie's advantage because knowing again how heady the book is,
Mm-hmm.
they were able to translate it well into a movie format. So I wonder if that's
Mm-hmm.
maybe why, because I don't feel like
Yeah.
much got lost in translation. If anything, things maybe got enhanced or maybe fleshed out in a better, more digestible way for moviegoers.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that in general makes the film adaptation better
Mm-hmm.
when the author of the source material is also taking part in writing the screenplay. I didn't read this book, but also I find that if there is a change that I am not happy about, I accept it better once I know that, well, okay, it's the author. The author made that change,
Right.
versus if it's somebody else completely doing the screenplay, I'm like, ooh, I want to know what so and so thinks about this. They're probably mad about this too. Why they changed this? But then I'm less mad about it if I know they signed off on it.
This is making me think of your tangent last episode with the Watchmen.
With the
This
Watchmen.
feels like an atrocity on par with the Watchmen translation.
Oh
we
man.
won't go into it
Anyway,
this episode.
we won't go back there. It's a
You
dark
know,
place.
exactly. You know. Yeah, I don't have much else to say. I kind of want to just get into it. How about you?
Let's do it.
All right, scene by scene is starting in three, two, One, we open to see a woman, Natalie Portman, sitting in a chair in the middle of a sterile examining room. To her right, she is being watched by several people through a wall of windows. In front of her stand three men in a hazmat suit. One of them begins to question her. He asks what she ate, given that they were in, oh boy, in there.
They were in there.
We're doing quotes.
We don't know where there is. At that point. He just says in there.
For 4 months and only had 2 weeks worth of rations. She feels like it was only days. He proceeds to ask her what happened to each member of her crew, Raddick, Shepard, Thorensen, Ventress. She can't quite explain what happened to them, so he asks, well, what do you know? Cut to a celestial body hurtling through space towards Earth. It crash lands by a lighthouse, and then this image zooms into a close-up of some kind of black and bubbling cellular organism. Finally, we see a prismatic vapor begin to spread outward from the lighthouse. Again, don't know what's going on. Next, we see the same woman giving a lesson to a group of med students about cell division, specifically cancer cells. After the class, another professor named Dan approaches her, and this is where we learn that her name is Lena. He invites Lena over to hang out on the weekend. He and his wife are having a gathering, and he would like to see her there. And there's a bit of awkward tension between the two of them. So Lena declines, saying, I'm going to paint our bedroom. And then she pauses and is like, the bedroom. Dan urges Lena to come by anyway, saying it's been a year and, quote, it's not a betrayal to come to a barbecue, ... Mm-hmm. Lena stands firm on her decline. Now we are at Lena's home, where we see a spread of photos of her and her presumable partner from their time in the military. This is Oscar Isaac. And as she sits in her living room, the scene intercuts between her crying on the couch and flashes of the two of them playfully rolling in the bed. She is clearly still grieving this man. She picks herself up and gets started on repainting the bedroom. No hour. As she's working, we see the man from the photos begin to slowly and calmly enter the home. He looks at the photos on the wall, kind of weird, and then he begins to walk up the stairs, and she recognizes footsteps. And so she takes a pause and like, am I hearing what I'm hearing? And before you know it, he has entered the room, and she can't believe this man is standing before her eyes. She runs to embrace him, begins kissing and hugging on him, but quickly realizes that something is amiss. He is not embracing her back. It's weird. Next, we see them sitting in the kitchen, and we learn that his name is Kane. Lena questions where he's been and why he hasn't contacted her since her husband, now we know it's her husband, was marked MIA on a mission from a year ago. As she presses for insight, Kane can't give her any answers, and this frustrates Lena. So she asks him how he got there and what's been going on, and he just says he saw her in the room and he recognized her. That don't make no sense. So then he takes a sip of water, and next thing you know, he lowers the glass, and we see that blood is trickling down into the glass. He has a Peter Parker moment where it's like, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. And next thing you know, they are racing to the hospital in an ambulance. Kane is all kinds of bleeding out the mouth. It's not looking good. Suddenly, the ambulance is descended upon by multiple black SUVs. They commandeer the ambulance, nearly running them off the road, and begin to take Kane away from the scene. As they apprehend Lena, she's attempting to fight back. She's trying to save him, but she gets drugged and blacks out. Mm-hmm. So that is the opening to this movie. A lot of mystery, a lot of unknown, a lot of subtext, a lot of tension. Mm-hmm. It's a wild time.
Starting off with the opening scene just being like her in a room being questioned, I was like, oh, we getting right into it.
Right, okay. Right. She's like, oh, okay, all right, hazmat suits.
We in the middle of the story here. All right.
The beginning is the end is the beginning or something.
Yeah.
So when we get to about, quote, present day, because present day is going to kind of shift, because obviously present day is her getting interrogated, but then present day in her reflection is whatever. Time, right, is timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly. So when we get to present day in the sense of her teaching in the class, and we get this interaction, well, before we even get the interaction with this guy, as she's doing this lesson, I'm literally trying to clue in more than normal, because I'm like, I feel like maybe they're dropping clues at this point. That's usually how these things work, right? It's like sci-fi, the lesson's already in place. People got to discover the lessons in the moment. Yeah. So they start talking about autophagic activity, and I was like, don't know what that means. This is another one of those moments. What was the theory we were talking about in Severance that I was like, don't know what that is?
Oh, Occam's
Yeah.
razor.
So I was like, this is another Occam's razor thing where I was like, don't know science, don't know what it means. So I did look it up for those of you guys who may be curious, like I am, and like definitions and words. Autophagic activity refers to the cellular process of autophagy, a self-degrading mechanism where cells break down and recycle themselves and filter out damaged and unnecessary components. So this is a very natural part of cellular biology. It's kind of essential for several different things. It removes damaged proteins, aggregated proteins, and dysfunctional organelles and mitochondria, ensuring proper cellular function. It helps with energy production. Cells that are under stress, like nutrient deprivation and autophagy, can break down the cellular components to generate more energy building blocks. So it's like kind of filling in the gaps there where you might be deficient at times, kind of help bridge the gap. It's good for a bunch of things: defense against pathogens, cellular remodeling, all sorts of stuff. So I was just like, oh, okay, all right, yeah. This will definitely come into play later.
Yeah.
We will
And
see autophagic
she
activity.
yeah, she talks about cancer cells too, right? So
Yes.
is cancer, I know, like abnormal growth, but I think some of it is also a defect in this typical activity. So like your body's not getting rid of the waste and
Right.
regenerating like it should be.
Probably.
I think
Like it probably
sounds right.
causes a breakdown in the autophagic activity to where it's not filtering out the stuff.
Yeah.
This is all conjecture, guys. We're not scientists. But
Yeah,
that's
that's so funny.
essentially what it seems like. Another thing that happened, I didn't write this down, but another thing that happened when we got to this point in the classroom, for some reason, and I may be thinking of another movie, I thought that they were maybe examining her cells and
Hmm.
that she had cancer. And I was like, what am I thinking of? Because
Are you thinking of her character in Thor? Because she's a scientist in Thor and she gets
maybe
cancer at the
so.
end.
Yeah, okay.
Spoiler.
Maybe spoiler alert. Ruh-roh. Maybe that's what it is. Because I was just like, oh, I know where this is going. And then that did not come into play at all. And I was like, what am I thinking
No.
of? Did she have cancer or something that is
Yeah,
biologist something?
Mjolnir saves her. The power of the gods slows
Yes,
her
that's
cancer down. Or no, it actually no, it speeds it up,
it's
I
right. It
think.
does. It
But she's
does. But it
powerful.
gives
She
her
feels
powers.
great when she's using it. Yeah.
If you haven't seen Love and Thunder, it's a movie.
Love and Thunder is a great movie, and I was just reminded today that the post-credit scene is unresolved, and I don't know if anything else
Oh
is gonna
yeah,
happen with
we
it.
don't know, do we? Because Marvel's all weird right now.
It is weird. I don't know if it can
I
recover,
don't
but that's a
either.
whole nother
Yeah, that's a
conversation.
different discussion. Okay, let's talk about Dan.
Dan.
Dan. Okay, obviously at this point we don't. Now here's the thing: I have seen Annihilation prior to this rewatch that we did. Not
Yeah.
everything I remembered, but there were certain parts I definitely remembered this part of the storyline, and I was like, oh, that guy.
Don't like this guy.
So at this point, we don't really know much about Dan. We do get that there is
Hmm.
tension. There are moments and glances and touches that I'm just like, I don't like this at all. Like, and I'm wondering if when I watched it the first time, if I picked up on it, or because the subtext kind of in it is that maybe he's just there to support her through some traumatic something that happened, right? So the
Hmm.
main thing that they're trying to like present is like, oh, he's just like, she's clearly grieving of something. We don't know what. He's trying to invite her to do things. And yeah, it's okay to come out. It's not a insult to his memory or whatever he says. And on the surface, it seems like a friend helping a friend who's isolating in grief.
Hmm.
But when you find out later what's really going on, it's like, oh, you're gross. Like, I don't like you.
Well, yeah. So I caught
Oh, you
both
did? Okay.
subtexts from
Okay.
the
All
beginning
right.
because yeah. So I was like, okay, she's lost somebody and they have a history because there was a weird something at the mention of his wife and like
Mm-hmm.
the way he put it in there in the invitation sounded like this is not just me inviting you, this is us inviting you to a thing with a lot of people. Like
Yeah.
made a point
Yeah.
that it wasn't a one-on-one invite.
Yeah.
And I was like, why would you do that?
I think what I picked up on this time was the way he said betrayal when he was like, it's not a
Yeah,
betrayal to go to a barbecue.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
seems like you're concerned about that.
yeah.
And I was just like,
Hmm.
get out
Yeah.
of here. So anyway, again, if you haven't watched it yet, you'll find out how and why we feel the way we feel about Dan. But yeah, so it was interesting to watch the conversation play out this time around, knowing where it goes and just being like, you're no friend. You're not a friend. You're no good friend.
Right.
But it is interesting because it makes it seem like she's being unreasonable. And then you find out later, not so much. I noticed that we both caught foreshadowing things.
We
We
did.
did.
We did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so one thing when Lena is questioning Kane at their table, and she's like, "Well, where were you? What was the mission? What do you mean you don't know where you were? Like, were they speaking, Pashto? Were they speaking, she's like, there's got to be clues." And he was just like, "I don't know where it was or what it was." And she was like, "What it
What it
was?" I'm like,
was.
"What?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, I should have caught on to that the first time I watched it."
Mm-hmm.
What? Yeah, you don't know what the heck this was.
It's also kind of
She won't.
interesting to see this line of questioning continue to play out through the film where everybody's like, you got to know something. And every
Right.
time it comes back around, everybody's just like, I don't know. I don't
I
know.
don't, I don't
I
know.
don't know what this, yeah, but that was interesting. The two pieces of foreshadowing that I caught, and they were all visual, which I was like, ooh, these are fun little Easter eggs. When they cut to the exterior shot of Lena's house, you see two prism me orbs in this
Mm,
shot. And I was just like, I see you, movie. And
yeah.
then the other one I noticed happens later when her and Kane are having their conversation, and she goes and reaches to grab his hand, and their fingers are overlapping. And the way she's rubbing his fingers, it's reflected through the glass, and it's like obviously kind of blown up because of the glass.
Yeah.
What am I trying to say? It's not
Magnifying it.
magnified. Thank you. I
Or
was like, it's not reflecting it, magnifying it. And we'll see later, this sliding of fingers looks very similar to a moment that happens later in the
oh,
pool
oh
with the, I looked at that and
yeah.
I said, "Ooh, ooh, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, I don't like that." Because they lingered on
Yeah.
it for a while. And again, the way it moved looked just like this moment we're going to see later, guys, with a
That's
man in a
funny.
pool and a drained pool. And it's disturbing. Anyway, so I
That's
caught
funny.
that one. I was like, I know what that's going to be later.
My only other note for this opening section was when Kane first walked in the house, everything was so like glossy and like
Mm,
hazy that I
mm-hmm.
thought it was a flashback. And then he got up there and I was like, wait, she painted right now. Oh, this is
This is
now.
now.
Oh, he just walked in the house. He just walked in all calmly. He's here.
It did look very dream state. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I was thrown
And you
off.
know me, I love song lyrics. So my final point in this moment is that, of course, they're playing a song while Lena's like they're reflecting on the couch. The song is from Crosby, Stills and Nash. It's called "Helplessly Hoping," and the lyrics that I found interesting. I mean, the whole thing kind of like works. Oh, I want to read the whole thing, but we don't have time. Okay, so the part that I caught that was interesting. There's two verses. One says, wordlessly watching, he waits by the window and wonders at the empty place inside. Heartlessly helping himself to her bad dreams, he worries, did he hear her? Did he hear a goodbye or even hello? And then there's another verse later that says, stand by the stairway, you'll see something. Certain to tell you confusion has its cost. Love isn't lying, it's loose in a lady who lingers, saying she is lost and choking on hello. I was like, ooh, profound. And then
Hmm.
the chorus was the part that I was like, oh, this is literally how this ends. They are one person, they are two alone, they are three together, they are for each other.
Huh.
It's deep, y'all. You got to think about it.
Huh.
It's deep. I
Okay.
was like, okay. Anyway, that was what I had for the opening section. That's what I got.
Well, so this next section is does have a title card in the movie as well too,
Mm-hmm.
Area X.
Mm-hmm.
So we lead into Area X. So Lena wakes up in a room that looks like part jail cell, part hospital room, and she's dressed in an orange jumpsuit and immediately runs to the toilet and starts vomiting. A woman walks in and introduces herself as Dr. Ventress. This is Jennifer Jason Leigh,
Mm-hmm.
a psychologist. And she begins to ask questions, but Lena demands to know where she is and insists on a lawyer. And Ventress tells her that that won't be possible and continues to press to see if Lena knows anything about Kane's mission. And Dr. Ventress then explains that Kane's body is failing him, and Lena pleads with her to get more information as she's a biologist. If she knows what he encountered, was it a virus? Was it radiation? Something, she's precisely the person who can help him. So Dr. Ventress takes Lena to a spot outside of the facility, which turns out to be a temporary military base. And in the distance, they look at a wall of iridescent, shimmery force field that surrounds a massive area of land. Ventress explains that 3 years ago, something from space hit a lighthouse near Blackwater National Park. The local sheriff's department labeled it as a shimmer, and they sent someone in to investigate, and that someone never returned. Since then, the shimmer has been growing, and up until now, they have been able to just evacuate the very minimally populated area with stories of like toxic waste leaks, environmental, public safety, whatever. However, soon it will grow to the point of needing to evacuate entire cities and even states if they don't figure out how to stop it. And she also says that over the years, they have sent in military teams, volunteer military teams by land, air, and sea, and no one has come back until Kane. Dr. Ventress then states that they need to come to an agreement on what to do with Lena, and Lena says she wants to stay there. She wants to stay with Kane.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the introduction of Area X.
Area X. For me, I think with this one, it was just more like taking information in. It was just, I'm trying to like follow all the details. I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Jennifer Jason Leigh, such an interesting character she's playing with Dr. Ventress. Like, she's very matter of fact. She's very kind of cold. She's really not caring so much about emotional states of things. She's just like, listen, here's what's going on. Let's get to it. I'm asking my questions. I don't really care that that's your husband. Don't really care that, like it just, there's a wall there. So
yeah,
I think I spent most of my time just being like, lady, I get it. You're ops, you're government, you're whatever. I mean, we do figure out later there is more going on with her as well. That's kind of leading to her having the disposition she does. But in the moment, I was just like, geez, lady, like, okay, you guys kidnapped her. Like, she's got a right to ask some questions.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, was there something illegal happening here? Is she under arrest? Why is her jumpsuit orange?
Right.
Like, I was really like, wait,
Prison?
she's in jail right now? What happened? Yeah. But I also, this part was just had me trying to figure more out about Kane because she really didn't have any answers for her. So it's like, how do we think Kane got back to his home from the shimmer? And I have even more questions about that once we know what happened to Kane later on.
Yeah.
But I was like, did he get out of the shimmer and make it back to this Area X facility first, and then he like broke out of the facility and went home? Or did he get home and they didn't even realize he was out of the shimmer until they intercepted like the ambulance, the 911 call? Like I don't know the timeline there. I don't think we get an answer.
No,
we don't get an answer about that.
I was curious about that too, because I definitely was trying to figure out how they even knew to like find the ambulance or tail the ambulance. So I'm just like, were they following him the whole time? Or no, that can't be right. I don't. Yeah.
My assumption was that because it was military, that they were monitoring
her house,
her calls and house and stuff, and they were like, oh, she called the ambulance because Kane is there.
Interesting. Even a year later, or maybe they just put up taps and just nothing active until ping ping, my husband.
Or it's just they're monitoring everyone involved with anybody that's been in the shimmer. Sure. And again, like they may not even know that he's missing, or maybe that means he did make it back to this facility and he's missing from the facility, and that's why they're monitoring the house.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense what we find out later, that he would maybe just go straight to her. But I'm also like, well, that's a question we'll have later, because I'm like, well, how did he know where to find her? But we'll discuss. Okay, I didn't have much else for this section. Did you? All right, moving right along. So we are now meeting the team. Okay, so before we do that, we get a flashback to Lena and Kane in their bedroom before the mission. Lena knows that this mission is somehow different because Kane is more distant, more quiet than normal, but Kane gives no information as to what he's about to head into. They do share a very sweet moment with each other in bed. They're giggling and laughing, having a good time. And then we jump right back to Lena's present day. So she is standing outside of this Area X facility. They're on some like little rooftop patio, and you see other people in the background, a mix of like soldiers, doctors, who knows who else. They're just kind of sitting there chatting, eating, whatever. She's standing by the ledge, just kind of looking out, contemplating. And then she is approached by Anya, who is played by Gina Rodriguez. And Anya tries to comfort her by letting her know that she's not alone in feeling kind of off put about this whole situation. She says, everybody here is effed up. It's a weird situation. Everyone's kind of going through something. It's not just you. Anya then introduces Lena to the rest of her crew. We meet Cass Shepard, who is Tuva Novotny. She is a geomorphologist. I said that right. Wow. And then we also meet Josie Radnick, who is played by Tessa Thompson, and she is a physicist. Anya also goes on to explain that she's a former paramedic. So they share that the three of them are going into the Shimmer with Dr. Ventress leading them because they all have science and medical experience rather than the typical military crews that they have previously sent in. So they have more conversation, and it touches on the fact that the one person who did make it out we know as Kane, and they discuss how he's not in great shape and all these different things about what maybe happened to him. And as they're having this conversation, Lena kind of makes an internal decision maybe to not say anything maybe about her relationship with him maybe. So she kind of keeps that close to the vest. Lena then later visits Kane and tells him that she knows what she needs to do. And she then goes to Dr. Ventress and requests to join the mission. We then cut back to present day with the interrogation man in the hazmat suit. And he asks her, so why did you do it? And Lena says, I owed it to him. So I went. And that's the end of that section. So this crew. Okay. So, I mean, off the rip. Now, when I, again, because I was like, I remember watching this before, for some reason in my head, Gina Rodriguez's character was military. So when she said she was a paramedic, I was like, oh, for some reason, I thought she was like the one military person that came with them, like, and the rest of them were science and medicine, but I guess that's not the case. But then, all right, let's talk about it. So as I watched Gina Rodriguez's performance, I kept thinking, did they really want Michelle Rodriguez? Because it feels like this is who this character was written for, is Michelle Rodriguez.
I saw your note and I was like, oh, Michelle Rodriguez would have killed this role.
See?
She would have killed it.
Right?
Yeah.
It feels like it should be. I don't know what happened in the Rodriguez casting call. If they said, give me Michelle Rodriguez, and then Gina showed up and they said, who is this? It's like, oh, which Rodriguez
Jane
did
the
you
Virgin?
say? No, not Jane. I need Fast and Furious. I need it. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know if there was a mix them up with the last names being similar. I don't know. But I just kept thinking throughout the movie, I feel like this should be Michelle Rodriguez, not Gina Rodriguez. And we'll talk later about why, but there are a few moments where Gina, I don't know, maybe wasn't giving what the role needed her to give.
Interesting.
And then again, that might be my opinion. And I'm not saying that she was bad in the role. And again, I do also feel like maybe part of that is because in my brain I was thinking she was military and she wasn't. But at the same time, I don't know. There's certain moments where I'm just kind of like, but as of right now, it's just an introduction. It's not really standing out to me. But that was my first thought, and then it continued to be a prevalent thought. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me backtrack. So one of the things that stood out in this moment that won't come into play until later when we find out more about the crew is I did notice while they were sitting there having a drink that Anya had gotten beers for everybody else, but had a root beer in for her. And I was just like, oh, I didn't catch that the first time, but I'm like, oh,
No, I missed that.
So a little subtle hint at her state of being where she's at. And then, okay, so here's my question for you, and you probably won't be able to answer it, but let's just conjecture. So they all start talking about how long they've been there before they're heading into this mission. Cass has been there the longest, 3 years. She basically says she's been there the whole time, and she's been monitoring like magnetic fields or whatever. So I guess she's been doing the sciencey stuff in that regard. Anya said she's been there 10 months, Josie 2. What are they doing all this time? Because I'm like, Anya's a paramedic.
Right.
What's she doing there 10 months?
Yeah. Anya doesn't make sense. The other two have stuff that they could be doing.
True.
They're testing stuff. They're testing things without even having to go in to test things because they're looking at force fields and doing all of that stuff. But yeah, I don't know why a paramedic is there unless she's just there just in case.
Yeah.
But hasn't actually been put to use because nobody has exited until Kanan. Right.
Yeah.
So maybe she and there's other medical people there for emergency stuff, but nobody has come out of the shimmer.
Right. Because that's what I was trying to figure out. Like, I was like, are they doing any type of training? Are they going through any type of military exercises in the event that they need to go in? Like Josie made sense because she's pretty fresh. She's like, I just got out of school and I've been here for 2 months. So I kind of immediately went from school to this. So she could be examining data, or she could be looking at, chemtrails. I don't know. I don't think that's a thing for this. Whatever. But she could be doing sciencey things, like you said, and same for Cass. Like Cass actually had a job that's had her there the whole time, and now she's just taking that experience in. But Anya was the one that threw me. I was like, so what's she been doing as a paramedic?
Yeah, but I think you made a good point about military training is probably some of their time because once they do get in there, they don't seem like they're fumbling around with the gear and stuff that they bring in. So they've had some kind of training.
Okay,
it seems like
that was my main thing. I was like, what are they doing for 10 months in a compound specifically? But yeah, so all right, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. So when Lena says she went in because she owed it to him, we don't know yet. It's not confirmed yet. But when we do find out what she did, I'm like, is that the only reason she feels like she owed him? Because I don't feel like that's a good enough reason to go on a suicide mission. I mean, I guess we can talk about it more once it's revealed in our summary. But like, I'm like, I don't know if that's good enough. I don't know that I would go in for that reason.
Do you think that there's maybe a more personal reason in the sense of just as a scientist, the curiosity of needing to, because this is what makes me think of Arrival, where like, you've got her and Jeremy, what's his name? Hawkeye. Renner, thank you. And they're both, a scientist and a communications, whatever. And so like their just field of curiosity prompts them to go into this unknown thing and engage with this unknown entity. So I wonder, do you think as a scientist, maybe that was another?
Well, yeah. So then why cop out and say it was your husband when you're answering these questions? Because I don't think that was a good enough reason.
Yeah. Or as a theme approaches and emerges later, is this a self-destruct thing? Like, does she feel like she needs to pay a little bit of penance, maybe?
Yeah, I guess my question is why else would she say she owed him specifically? You know what I mean? I think those are all reasons that make sense to go in, but then why say you did it because you owed him? And if you really feel like you did do it because you owed him, again, without spoiling it right now.
Right.
I don't think that's a good enough reason to owe him.
I mean, the only thing I can think is one, maybe there's some backstory we don't know about her and their time as a military, and maybe he saved her life. And so maybe there's that.
Yeah. I think I was waiting for some kind of story like that.
Or it just straight up is she thinks it's her fault he's in the state he's in. Like he maybe wouldn't have taken this job if it wasn't for what we find out later.
That makes more sense. Yeah, he went on the mission because of what she did.
Yeah, so those are the only two things I can think. But none of those things are explained, so we don't know.
Okay, that satisfies it. Yeah. Later on, she tries to have Dr. Ventress confirm that, and she doesn't.
True. Yeah, and she sure doesn't. Straight up sidesteps it. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, then let's move it right along then.
All right. We get another title card, The Shimmer. So the 5 women approach the Shimmer on foot with all their gear strapped to them and guns in hand. And then we flash back for Lena to a night of passion in her bedroom. But oops, it's not Kane she's sleeping with. It's Dan, her colleague from work. So that's all we get is they're
Yeah.
just having sex, and
Yep.
then
And
we
that's
pan
it.
down
Yep.
to it's him in the bed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then Lena wakes up and she's in a tent and she is disoriented as light kind of shines through. And as she exits the tent to find that her crew has set up camp in the middle of a swampy jungle, but nobody remembers anything from the time they have entered the shimmer to now. They don't remember setting up camp. They don't remember hiking to get there. Okay. But Cass reveals that their rations suggest that they had already been out there for 3 to 4 days. And then additionally, Josie checks all the comms and says, all the electronics are turning on, but none of the communication signals are working. And Dr. Ventress is basically like, duh, we've been doing this for 3 years and have never gotten communication from the people inside. Did you think the comms were going to work? Like, come on, what are we doing here?
She's so mean.
So she was like, really?
Y'all
really,
are so
y'all?
dumb. Y'all are really dumb.
Right. She had no time for the play. So they decide that they'll orient themselves with their watches and head south and then make their way up the coast to get out. So basically they don't know where they are. They don't remember how they got there. So Dr. Ventress orders them to pack up all of their stuff and keep it moving, and they make their way through the swamp and come across a hut and a boat shed. The hut-like cabin thing is halfway submerged in the water, by the way. And so as they enter, Lena makes an observation about how peculiar the plant life around them is. There's vines on their path that look like it's several different species because there's all different kinds of leaves and flowers, and it looks like they're all very different, but it's the same system because they're growing from the same vine. They're all connected to one plant. And she states that this would definitely be considered a pathology if it was occurring in humans. So just a note of the first sign of like mutations that they encounter. So Anya and Cass check the boat shed to see if they can get some boats working. And Dr. V and Lena and Josie head into the hut. And as they look around inside, Josie is suddenly grabbed by something and pulled inside and dragged under the water. And Lena then jumps into action and struggles to grab her, but can't pull her up. And then Cass and Anya run in to help, and they're able to pull her out of the water. And then they all run back out of the boat shed. And they very quickly find out that it was a massive alligator that attacked Josie, and it comes back and starts chasing them all down. So it almost gets Anya. She takes shots at it. Cass takes shots at it, but ultimately it's Lena who is able to take down the alligator with some precision sniping. And then they examine the dead gator, and Lena is amazed to see that its teeth have multiple variations, just like the flowers on the vines. And it seems like the living organisms in the shimmer are mutating rapidly. So we jump back to the present, and Lena is explaining to the man in the hazmat suit that the mutations were subtle at first, but they got more and more extreme as they continued on their journey towards the center of the shimmer to the lighthouse. Let's see, back to the beginning here. First of all, when they're walking in with their packs, they look like the Ghostbusters. I just thought that was funny.
I saw that note and I was like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Looks like they're about to tackle the Marshmallow Man.
Yeah, it was less military, even though they have military gear on, than what it was supposed to look like, I think. Also, I had never heard of the trick with the watch about orienting. So Cass says, your training. Remember your training. We just point the hour hand at the sun and split the difference between the hour hand and 12, and that's how you get south. And I looked it up, and that is correct. And in the northern hemisphere, in the southern hemisphere, it's the opposite. So that will get you north, and that's how you orient. But you have to put the watch flat on the ground. By the way,
okay. I was gonna say, how do you hold it? Okay, all right.
Yeah. I was like, Girl Scouts, you failed me. Why didn't I know this? So that's what you do if you have a watch. Always have a watch, an analog watch.
Make sure it's a watch that has it went away, but has hands and not digital.
Yeah, an analog watch, not a digital watch. But that got me thinking. I was like, how do they know their watches didn't get effed up? I know they're analog, but how do they know
magnetizing or anything like that didn't affect it? Yeah,
they've been in there for days and they don't remember any of it.
The answer is they don't.
They don't.
And they haven't even
That is
figured
the
out
answer. They
what's
don't.
causing all of the mutations and things. So yeah, they have no idea that will even work to lead them where they want to go.
Right.
Yeah. So the first thing I'll say, because I put it out of order, but I got a slight bit annoyed when they got to the boathouse area. And like they kind of did like we'll look around, but one of the things that I'll say, especially in this scene, this is where I started to really, because I don't know. I have a thing when certain actors and actresses get cast as military, and I'm like, I don't know that I believe you were military, just physicality wise. And Natalie Portman is one of those people that, like, when they showed the initial photos, I was like, military? I believe she's a scientist. Okay. I don't know if I believe she has been in combat in any way, but in this scene, I was like, okay, all right, I buy in. You sold me. Because she does have like this extreme awareness. She definitely is like constantly like gun in first, doing the checks, doing the, before she enters her body, like making sure she's like securing herself in that way. And everybody else is just like, wah, wah. Like I noticed that everyone else is just like kind of randomly strolling here and there. And we later see Josie just randomly just setting up in a area that she hasn't checked. She hasn't like examined. She just kind of like poked in and was like, I don't know what's going on. So this is where I was like, okay, it's clear they're all scientists and not military, because they ain't doing the perimeter checks correct. You got to clear the area.
And I think Cass, so we'll see later, but Cass picks up on it for sure when Lena is the one that shoots the the gator down. But I think she started noticing what you're just saying too. I think there's a moment where she's kind of watching how
she's interacting,
Lena is moving through the space, and she's like, huh. Yeah.
And for sure, when she took out that gator, that's when I was like, oh, that's a woman who shot a gun.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, she knows. And that's funny too, because there's so many military personnel who, never see combat. They don't do any of that part. They have different jobs. And since she's a biologist, who knows what her, role in the military was. Exactly. But I was like, well, she at least got that training. That's for sure.
Because they definitely positioned her camera wise in a way that like really got you to buy in. But it was like the fact that she's like unflinching. She never takes her eye off the target. She doesn't like, I hope it works. Like she's just like, bop, 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 bop. I was like, oh.
I also appreciate that she was definitely actually firing that gun, because that recoil had her cheek like, boom, boom.
And again, she's not like, oh, my face, like she's holding steady. Yeah, and I was like, okay, and I buy into it now. I believe. I shouldn't have doubted you, Natalie Portman. So yeah, that, okay. And you know what? I have this note later, actually, so I won't bring it up yet.
Oh, okay.
Anything else you want to?
Well, a couple things. So I'll say the funny one first. The alligator scene makes me think of like
you
Placid.
Did say that, and I laughed. I did laugh when I saw that, and I was like, "Oh, you're right."
And I had forgotten all about that movie until this made me think of that, and I was like, "That was a good
shout out
movie.
to Lake Placid."
I wasn't supposed to. Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be, but it was hilarious. But as I'm saying that, it also makes me think of, what's the movie?
Are you going to say what I'm thinking?
What's the movie with the shark and it comes up and it grabs
Deep Blue Impact? Yeah. Deep Blue or Blue Deep Impact? Deep Blue Sea?
Deep Impact is the space
movie.
It's
Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah. Yeah. And it
with Samuel L. Jackson. LL Cool J is in it, but Samuel L. Jackson is the one who gets
Samuel L. Jackson gets yanked.
Literally mid-encouraging speech that's usually a hero speech. And they snatched that fool out of the ground.
So, both Lake Placid and that movie, there's both animals just snatching people, right? The quickness with which Josie disappeared into that water.
So fast. It was comedic.
The blink of an eye.
It was comedic.
I was like, I screamed, but yeah, it was comedic. Oh, it was so funny because I was watching this while we were nap trapped. So I had one baby on me and my mom had the other baby, and it was silence, and I was watching with my earbuds on my phone, and I was like, so I almost woke the baby up, and my mom looked at me across the room like, what are you watching? Oh, that made it
I
funny,
forgot about that part. So when it happened, I was kind of startled. I was like, oh, where'd she go?
Where'd she go? That was so fast. She was just like, yank. Into the water.
It also made me think of Anaconda, by the way. I thought you were going to say that before you said Deep Blue Sea.
Another one. Yeah. All the movies with oversized animals.
Listen, them early aughts movies were snatching folks up. Them animals were snatching folks up.
Oh, I forget about Anaconda, the scene where John Voight is in the snake.
Oh yeah,
and you can see the imprint of him blink after the anaconda. And again, more like it's supposed to be scary movies, but man, it's got some comedic moments.
There's moments where it's like, this is kind of funny, although like it's kind of funny.
I need to watch all of those again.
We should have a marathon just of those early aughts
movies.
Big animal early aughts. There was a vibe during that time, you guys. You had to be there.
That is so funny.
You had to be there.
Oh, that is funny. Throw snakes on a plane in there for
there you go.
Measure.
There you go.
Okay, so my other part about this was, I thought it was very strange. Very suspicious that Dr. Ventress did not try to help.
You did say that.
So
yeah.
She was standing back, right? And so I was like, she was in the room. It was her that went in with them. So she was there and could have tried to help before Anya and Cass got in to help. And I don't know if it was like a flight, fight, or freeze situation and she froze, or I don't know. I don't think anything ever came of it, but it made me very suspicious of her character because I was like, she didn't seem to even really have, I don't recall her like screaming or try to jump in. Like I watched her when I rewatched it. I like watched her specifically in that scene and she was just there.
Yeah, it wasn't until you mentioned it in your notes that I was like, oh, and when I went back and watched the scene, I was like, oh yeah, she is in there. She doesn't do anything. So that was an early indicator of like, something's up with this lady. And what we find out later, it kind of makes sense in a self-preservation kind of way. Like, I feel like if nothing else, she was like, I'm not dying right now. I got a goal. I got an
Josie
objective.
Can go.
Josie,
all of y'all are expendable.
Which maybe she set the team up in a way that's like, I have some people that I can lose as buffer points to get me further in. Who knows?
Crazy. Yeah, that's why she didn't fight Lena joining. Probably the more the merrier.
Like, sure, yeah, you can die too. You can die too. Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. The last thing I have is when they got to that final scene where she comes back to talking with interrogation guy, Benedict Wong's character.
Yeah.
Another bit of foreshadowing happens where she says, corruptions of form, duplicates of form, ... echoes. And then she looks down at her, which I didn't realize was an Ouroboros tattoo on her forearm. And I was like, oh.
So explain this to me, because I saw her looking at the tattoo. I recall at different points looking for the tattoo and not seeing it and seeing it, but I didn't really spend much time on it because there was other things happening. So what is your aha moment? What is your realization? What is it? Explain it.
I can't get too into it because I think it ties into the question you have at the very end about like theories of what's going on.
We'll wait.
But as we may know, or maybe you don't know, an Ouroboros is kind of like that whole tail, snake eating its own tail, continuous infinity loop, or just like a cyclical thing. Always makes me think of Neverending Story.
Yeah.
Shout out to Neverending Story. And it was just the way she said echoes and then looked down at that I was just kind of like, why you do that? Why you do that? So it stood out to me. It gave me like a little pause moment. Like, I feel like I should take note of this moment. And again, we'll discuss later what that may or may not mean.
Yeah.
That's all I got in this moment. You have anything else?
No.
All right. Forging ahead. All right, guys, time to head to Fort Amaya, which is where our team is heading next. So the crew takes 2 boats through the swamp. Cass and Lena share a boat and they're kind of talking with each other. And Cass clocks that Lena was in the military and that she had to have lost someone to be here, because this is crazy talk and anybody who's doing this is crazy.
Right.
So Lena shares that her husband was killed in action. She says that he was killed in action in the army. We know maybe not so true, but that's the story she's telling. And Cass shares that everyone here is here because they have all gone through some kind of trauma. Cass lost her daughter to cancer. Josie was either a cutter or suicidal because she talks about how she has a bunch of cuts on her arm.
Mm-hmm.
And Anya is a recovering addict. So they don't know what Dr. Ventress's deal is, but clearly something ain't right with her either. So they come to Fort Amaya, and this was the previous headquarters, we are told, before the shimmer swallowed it up. So they enter the mess hall and they begin to set up camp for the night, and they find the remnants of the previous crew or crews in the space. We see backpacks and supplies strewn all over the place. Lena then sees a board with Kane's name on it, amongst other names and times. She is able to deduce that it was a guard rotation schedule, and she suggests that they do the same. On the other side of the mess hall, we see Dr. Ventress, and she finds an SD card in a plastic baggie labeled "For Those That Follow." That's not creepy at all. And so they decide to put the card in the convenient camcorder that is also stationed in the room, and they begin to watch, horrified, as we see Kane and some of his comrades are surrounding this guy who's sitting in a chair, and he don't look so great. And Kane starts carving into this man's guts. Gross. And furls back his skin as this man is being held down by the rest of the crew. And we see inside his intestines are just snaking and moving around inside his gut. It looks like a ball of snakes all kind of like sidewinding upon each other. It's gross.
It's gross.
It's gross. And then he puts his hand in it. Oh. Anyway, we'll talk about it. So Anya grabs the camera. She is stunned and she shuts it off, and she says that she can't watch the rest. And so the rest of the group is kind of debating what's really going on. She says that this is just proof that the whole group went insane. It's a trick of the light. This isn't, that man's guts aren't moving. I'm a paramedic. I know what's what. She's not trying to hear it. But the rest of the group is not as convinced, and they believe that something was moving in this man's body. Why, we don't know. What, we don't know. In the aftermath of the video, Lena tries to compose herself and make sense of what they just saw, while Dr. Ventress disappears down a hallway. They all follow after her, and they end up in a drained pool where some kind of plant humanoid fungus thing is climbing all up against the wall. And we also see that it is wearing, quote unquote, military dog tags. And all of different body parts and parts of a human are growing out of the wall. It's weird. Don't know what's going on there. Josie then looks down and sees the knife that Kane was using in the video and declares that she don't want to stay here tonight. And girl, I feel you. Same. Mm-hmm. Dr. Ventress vetoes this, saying that it's too late in the day for them to find somewhere else to camp. So Anya takes her out to get some fresh air. We then get another flashback to the morning Kane left for his mission. Apparently, he left a day early and doesn't say why. And Lena has to cancel their plans to spend their last day together, but he seems unfazed. Their goodbye is full of a lot of hesitation and regret. So we go back to the shimmer, and that night at Fort Amaya, Lena looks at some cells under a microscope because she's been collecting samples. And we see that they are behaving very weirdly. They are doing the cellular splits, but we notice that one looks like a normal cell and one looks like a little shimmer cell, and it's kind of weird. So Cass wakes up and mentions that everybody is freaked out, but she's just hiding it better. And Lena goes to check on Dr. Ventress, who is currently on guard duty. So Dr. V and Lena make plans for how the team will move forward the next morning. And she tells Lena that she now agrees with her decision to keep her connection to Kane a secret from the others. Just based on that wild tape, probably a good thing to just not bring that up. So Lena then asks her to explain why Kane would choose to go on a mission like this, a suicide mission. But before she can give a full explanation, they hear a loud crash in the fence in the distance, followed by a roar. Whoa. And they start looking out to see what's going on. And we see Cass run up besides the guard tower. She does have a gun, but has no idea what's going on. Anya wakes Josie up to follow. Lena spots a hole in the fence, and just as Cass pulls up to get the 411, she is snatched by a monster. Looks kind of like a bear, maybe. It's hard to see because it's dark and we just get like a flash. The team then chases after her as she is dragged away, but she gone through that fence and they can't get her in time. Ooh, this is when the tension starts ratcheting up. And the weird and the gross. It all kind of happens in this little cluster. So Oh boy. I wanted to read this quote because I found this interesting when Lena and Dr. Ventress are having their little discussion in the guard tower. And
Mhm.
again, I think this kind of sums up thematically one of the themes that's happening in this movie. So when Lena's like, why would my husband go on the suicide mission? I'm sure you psychoanalyze this guy. You have to have a reason why someone would do something like this. It's suicide, right? And Dr. Ventress says, as a psychologist, I'd say you're confusing suicide with self destruction. Almost none of us commit suicide, and almost all of us self destruct. And then she goes on to say some more stuff. And then she wraps it up by saying, you're a biologist. Isn't self destruction coded into us? Isn't it programmed into each cell? And this kind of echoes back to an earlier conversation that Lena's having with Kane in the bed, where she basically talks about how aging is a genetic flaw and that it, people look at it as a natural occurring thing, but she says that it's a flaw in our cellular makeup. So interesting little tie-in, like, why do we self-destruct? Is it biocoded? Who knows? And then she makes a pretty pointed dig at Lena too, and I was just like, oh, she got you. Because she said somewhere in there, she was talking about, we tend to self-destruct with, drugs, alcohol, we eat too much, we blow up happy marriages. I said, oh, she ain't dumb.
When she said, like, you should know, she like paused long enough for you to be like, oh, so he said he talked to you about the affair, and then she's like, she follows with, well, you're a biologist,
right?
You tell
right,
me.
Guys, right? Yeah. She pulled that back real quick, but I said, ooh, that was a dig. If I ever heard one, she knows what's going on, and she's not going to tell you she knows either.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back up to this videotape moment. Gross. I forgot how hard it was to watch the scene until I had to watch it. And I was just like, I think the second time when I watched it again, I just fast forwarded. I was like, nope, don't need this. Because it's so slow. It isn't like he cuts through this man quickly. He's like, making a little fold the flap and peeling it back. I was like, oh, I hate this.
Yeah, I mean, appropriately so, though, too, because I think he was like purposely trying to be exploratory and not kill him in the process.
Yes, true.
He wasn't just like ripping into him. He was just pulling back the skin, which is crazy. But yeah.
How did they know? Do you think maybe, was it like so prominent through his skin that they were able to tell? Or was the guy just like, it feels like my guts are moving around? And then they're like, oh, let's see.
Yeah, that's what I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the conversation leading up to it was, but I imagine it's probably something like the latter, because he didn't seem like he was fighting like they were doing it against his will. He just seemed like he was fighting the pain of it. He was being held down because he's writhing in pain, not because,
don't cut me open.
Oh, they're trying to cut me. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think it was like, it was probably his idea. Like, you gotta cut, you gotta see what this is. You gotta open me up.
And then was like, never mind.
Yeah, close it
back. The whole thing was so grody. And then when he stuck his hand in and like let it slide over
yeah, gross. Super gross.
I mean, I get it. I guess for him, especially being military, it's like, we've seen probably a lot of death and a lot of guts, so whatever. But I was just like, I don't like this at all.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then because it is so graphic and it's so detailed, the first watch through, I was just like, how in the world could Anya possibly be in that much denial? Right. And so she says it's a trick of the light. And then when Josie's like, his insides were moving, she was like, that's just shock. And I was like, no, that was more than just a little bit of like, you get a couple heartbeat, you see a couple pulses after somebody died. Like, no. This was slithering snakes and eels in this man's body. What are you talking about? But, on subsequent watches, without giving too much away, I think the shimmer, as we learned later, affects her very much. I think maybe it was starting to affect her earlier than everyone else, or it was affecting her more quickly than everyone else. And I wondered if that maybe has something to do with her past substance abuse, and like maybe like her body was already
kind of
damaged prone, and was like more susceptible to being changed by what was happening in the shimmer.
If we're talking about cellular biology and the what was it called? Aphagic, I've already forgotten.
Autophagic activity
process in cancer cells, right? If there has been a degradation in those cells based on the substance abuse, then possibly she is more prone to like not being
Right.
able to filter out the bad code or whatever is happening
Right.
there. So that's a good point. That's very possible. I am curious as to when it is affecting each of them, because we see when each of them
Yeah.
start having results, but like we had 3 or 4 days in
How?
there that
Yeah.
just we don't know what happened to anybody. We don't know
Mhm.
what went down or who was exposed to things. So I've been curious through this whole movie to figure out who is being impacted at what rate,
Right.
and when, if there was a point of origin, or if it's just literally a result of being in the shimmer and everyone just kind of degrades at a different rate of speed.
Right. And in different ways,
Right.
too.
Because it can't just be exposure. Because I feel like if nothing else, Lena is exposing herself to more things. Like she's constantly picking up samples. She's constantly pulling up things and holding stuff. I mean, we don't know if there's contaminants on any of this stuff, but she's engaging more with her environment than anybody else. So you would think she'd be
Right.
quicker to show some signs. But yeah, I don't know what the point of origin is.
Yes, right now, before we get the theory of what is happening later.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You feel me?
Yes.
Yeah, I would assume the same thing. Like, it's something environmental that is causing this, and
Mm-hmm.
she's engaging with the environment more. So I would think that she would be affected more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also interesting that you say that too, though, because Cass is gone, taken by some bear thing. So we don't even know if she had already started being affected by this point, too. There's no signs of her having any effects
Right.
yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's gone before we can see any results of the shimmer on her.
Right. Because she seemed pretty normal, pretty stable
Right.
last we see her, right? So we
Yeah.
don't know if it has taken a hold in any particular way, which is unfortunate for her, as we'll soon find out.
Yeah.
Okay. So when they get to this fungus thing in the
This
pool,
fungus thing. I saw your note and
I
we had
said, this
different
is
notes, but they're all
straight up
related.
Last of Us. And then you said,
Yes, very much. Last of Us. And then I said Stranger Things, like
which I was like, oh, yeah.
all creepy, crawly, growy thingies out of the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
both of those things. But also I was also just thinking, I didn't write it down because it just came to me. It also makes me think of the shrine that is Dr. Addy, okay, Bones
Oh,
fans.
okay. Okay. I
Dr.
was like,
Addy
what?
builds to Gormagon. So do you watch
I
Bones?
didn't watch it that much.
Oh no.
I've
Okay,
seen
so
it, but
I'm
I
gonna
didn't watch it dedicatedly.
I'm gonna spoil a
Yeah, that's fine.
major
That's fine.
multiple season spoil.
Spoiler for Bones.
Yeah, there's this ongoing serial killer that they're trying to
I do recall
catch.
that. Yes. Okay.
And poor Dr. Addy gets manipulated into being his helper.
Uh,
And part of it is that they are keeping different bones from the people they are killing. And the when it's revealed, he has built this whole skeleton out of these people's bones, but then some are like gold plated and silver plated, and it's all weird, but it's like hanging like this weird,
mm-mm.
and the jaw is all cocked open. And so like this
Reminds me of
person,
that.
this thing out of the wall reminded me of that too, because part of it, like the bottom of the jaw is missing, and
Yeah.
we have like torso that still has skin on it with the dog tags, but then and then we see the ribs coming out. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. But anyway, yeah, this image was like a ton of different crazy
This is
things
a
all
very
mashed
sci-fi type
together.
of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it makes me think which came first, chicken or the egg, because I don't know. I mean, this is 2018, but the book is
Is
prior to that. But I don't know if this is a
right.
scene that happened in the book or if it was just for the movie. So then it's like, who influenced what, because the Last of Us game has been out for a
Oh
while.
yeah.
Stranger Things would have been out by then, 2018, right? Right?
Oh,
Wasn't Stranger Things like 2016,
yeah.
2015 or something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the first Stranger Things. Yeah.
Yeah.
2016.
So it just makes me
Mhm.
wonder where that spidery, webby body part influenced
Yeah,
Viney
it's also
thing
hard to go off of release dates too, because things get worked on for
for
so
so long.
long,
Very
and
true.
people in the industry know about things in things, even though we haven't seen it as the
True.
audience yet.
So yeah, just makes me wonder if the director maybe saw this in something else and was like, "Ooh, I like that. That's visually whatever," because it does harken to so many other visual cues. Okay, here's my question about that dude. Did they just leave him there in the chair to just like internally combust into fungus? And did this thing just like kind of burst out of him? Because the way they kind of scale up the wall, you see like parts of his body, parts of his uniform still intact, but then it's like he just kind of like oozed out into fungus and just I don't know. What happened there? I mean, we'll never know because we didn't see it, but what happened there?
Right. And so it's like, was that how he died and the thing grew out of him and it killed him as it attached him to the wall?
Mm.
Or did he die and they left his body there and
And
then
then it
that
just
thing grew
became, that's what
around it?
I'm,
I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah. But I was like,
Because I'm like,
oh,
I don't
ew.
imagine you'd probably survive having your guts exposed much, but I don't know if, yeah, I don't know if it's the thing inside that killed him or if he just died and then the thing just kind of took over. I don't know.
Right. And so the fact that there's still like skin, it's not completely decomposed,
Mm-mm.
makes me have a bunch of timeline questions that, again, we don't get answered. Sorry, guys. We just got questions, no answers. Okay. So I'm like, was Kane's mission the most recent before this one?
That's what it seems like. It
Yeah.
seems like he was the last team. They were the last team going.
Yeah, he's been gone for a year, but did his crew member just die? Because why is this body not more decomposed?
Mm,
He's been out here. Has he been just wandering around apart from his team? Did they get split up? Or have there been other missions, but those people didn't make it all the way to Fort Amaya? Like, did they go other places? We get bones and stuff later on, but yeah, I was just confused. I was
it's a lot of
confused about the
questions.
amount of things, right? But then also, if we think this guy died this way in this pool, I don't recall how many names were crossed off, but some of the names were crossed off the guard
Right.
rotation. They said
Yes.
that let's not jump to conclusions, but that suggests that they were dead. So they
They ain't
made,
available for guard duty.
right, so they made Fort Amaya their camp for a while. They didn't just leave after the first person died and move. They didn't move forward if there's multiple names crossed off. Where's the
Mm.
other body? I'm just like, how recent was this? How recent was this? Because it would seem that it was very recent.
I have, and we'll get to it when we get to that final scene. I have some thoughts and theories about, yeah, what happened to everybody else in Kane and maybe how long he was kind of hanging out in there. So we'll talk about it later. But yeah. Okay. So my final question, and then if you have any others, we'll get to that too. My final question has to do with the flashback scene. And I was already thinking about it a little bit during their first little moment when he's kind of staring off and he's kind of distant.
Hmm.
I'm trying to figure out at what point Kane found out about this affair. I know we haven't like,
Mm.
well, no, we have exposed it,
Yeah,
but
at this
like,
point, yeah.
because I guess what I'm trying to figure out is this day early thing seems very sudden. She didn't know it was going to happen. That doesn't mean that he didn't know he was going to leave early. But I'm like, did he just find out and then call the night before and be like, "Hey, I'm coming now. I'll see you tomorrow."
Oh, that hadn't occurred to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Or did he already know and just couldn't stand it and just was like, I got to get out? Because I was trying to figure out during that first scene if he maybe had an inkling of if she might be stepping out or not and was just trying to like weigh it in his mind. And maybe it wasn't confirmed. And then maybe by this point it had somehow gotten confirmed. And then he was just like, I can't be around you. I can't stand it.
Yeah, that's interesting because there doesn't seem to be any, yeah, in that first scene. And again, we don't know the order of those scenes too.
True.
But like in that first scene, it doesn't seem like there's any bad tension between them. So it would, I think we could assume that maybe he didn't know. But it's possible that that's a more recent situation and he did know and had already gotten past it.
Mm,
And it was fine in that way because then it would seem weird for it to be chronological order and that's
yeah.
the furthest thing that happened. And then we see the affair and then we see like, I think he clearly knows about it by the time he's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, we don't know where the affair part falls in the, I mean, we get a later scene
yeah,
that's going to go into it a little bit more, but
yeah.
it,
It just seems like
it isn't
it's
clear. Yeah. Where it
yeah, but I
falls.
was gonna say it seems like it's too close together to be like that, but also we don't know we
Yeah.
don't know the timeline. We don't know how far apart these flashbacks
I mean, we
exist.
do get a time. She does in the first scene say, ask him when he's leaving for his next mission. And I can't remember what he said, if it was like a couple weeks or something, but it seemed
Okay,
like it was coming up soon, but not like
right,
tomorrow. And then this one, we know it was supposed to be two
right.
days from now, but now
So
it's today.
got it. So then the question is,
When did the affair
yeah,
scene
did he
happen?
already know in that first scene, or was she still sleeping with this man in between when she knew he was getting ready to go on a mission and that,
Mm,
and those flashbacks are
mm-hmm,
in sequential order. I don't know. If
mm-hmm,
they are
mm-hmm,
that
mm-hmm.
that's effed up.
Or, and this is the other thing I don't know, or is it she because when we get to that scene later, one of my thoughts was, is she just hooking up with him when he leaves? But now the guilt has set in. So now she can't hook up with him guilt free because she knows that he left knowing about it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's fuzzy, but
right.
I don't think it's super close. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is when and how he would have found out enough to like make this drastic decision to leave early. Because clearly something is motivating it, right?
Yeah, I thought it was outside of his control. I didn't think that it was his choice to leave early. You know,
I
I thought
think,
he had found out he had to go. That was how I read it. You bringing that theory up is new to me.
What made me think it is when he has the conversation and he says, "You know, I love you, right?" And it seemed like one of those like, I hope you realize, like, I don't know. It felt, the way it felt was kind of like, I know you're cheating on me. I hope you don't think it's because I don't love you enough to stay, type of thing. You know what? Like it was the subtext of the way he conveyed it. And I think that's what she picked up on. Cause I don't think that she got a verbal knowing. I think she could just tell by the way he was acting towards her. And the fact that he left so soon was like, I think he knows. So I don't know how he found out.
Yeah,
But
see, I thought I got the I think he knows part, but I didn't connect that as the why he's leaving. I think he was just kind of like, I think I read it as, I have to just say this now because we didn't get to do what we had planned for our last day, and maybe the last day was gonna be like a heart to heart. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who knows? But that was just kind of how it read to me. I was like, oh,
So
did he
then,
decide to go up sooner just because he's like, I can't
yeah. So then, do
bear.
you think the affair, the full affair scene is after he's already left?
I think so.
Ah,
I think so.
that makes sense.
So, and we'll get to that later. But yeah, so that was my only other moment. I was like, because I don't think I picked up on it the first go round, but when I was watching the way he was just kind of sitting there and kind of staring off, and it didn't seem like, hey, I got news, I have to leave sooner. It just was like, I can't really even look at you right now.
Yeah.
But I do still love you. But also, I just found out some pretty crappy information, and I think I just need to go. Right.
Right.
So, and I don't even know if he called them up and said, I'm coming early. Maybe he just bounced just to not be, who knows? Who knows?
Right.
But yeah, that was what I got. So we can only infer based on the information we get. Did you have anything else in this part?
No.
Okay. All right.
All right. The cabin. Okay. So the next morning, Anya makes her case to the team for why they should head back to base. They've got plenty of information, they've got samples, they've got hella footage. But Dr. Ventress says that's not enough. If anything, that makes us have more questions than answers. So she's like, no, the mission isn't over until we have reached the lighthouse, and I'm prepared to go by myself. So y'all just need to decide if you're going to come with me. Again, she doesn't have time for the play. She's like, we got a mission that we're on. Let's do it.
Lighthouse.
So she leaves the room, and then Anya chews out Lena for not saying anything during that commotion. And she's like, where were you? Like, you should have supported us. And Lena says, no, I do agree with you. I think we should go back. However, we don't know. We've been on the road for 6 days. We don't really know where we came from. We don't know what's back there. I think we need to continue on this original path, right? Which, remember, their plan is to head to the coast and then take that all the way out. And so she, basically says, like, the way out is through. And so we get back in her present day where she's being questioned. The hazmat suit guy is like, you lied to them. Why did you lie? And Lena's like, well, I mean, I couldn't really see a reason why going back would be any better. But, ultimately through the questioning, it boils down to, like, she was interested in finding out more too. So she just wanted to continue, right? The scientist in her, like you were saying earlier.
There it is.
Right? So we come back to the team, and they're all together, and they're making their way through the woods, and they come across Cass's boot with her foot still in it. There's like trails of body part hanging out the boot. And so Lena's like, she may be alive. Again, Dr. Ventress she's just she don't give a F. She's just like, it's not likely. Like, what are we doing here? You're wasting my time. But she's like, we owe it to her to see. Right? Yeah. And so, Lena sets off to, like, follow the trail and look for her. Anya wants to come with her, but Lena's like, no, I'll go alone. And Anya's side-eyeing this, like, wait a minute. So her suspicion of Lena is growing. This is kind of the first hint of it, but she's suspicious. And so On her way, Lena sees more mutations, the what does she call echoes and the doubling of forms. There's two deer that are moving in sync with each other, and instead of antlers, they have cherry blossom branches growing out of their head.
Very pretty.
It's very pretty, actually. And she did say earlier, she said to the hazmat guy that like not everything was nightmarish, like some of it was actually really beautiful. And so Lena eventually finds Cass's body, and her throat has been ripped to shreds. And she heads back to the team, and she's just like, yeah, she's dead. And they move on. So the four of them find an abandoned cabin, and there's a playground outside. And outside throughout the playground, there are human-shaped figures that upon further inspection turn out to be bushes that have, quote, grown this way. Anya says that's impossible, but Josie shares her theory for what is happening here. So she says the shimmer is a prism, but it reflects everything, not just light and radio waves, animal DNA, plant DNA, all DNA, meaning it's altering our DNA right now, okay?
In real time.
So then when they enter the house, Lena catches Anya sitting and staring at her hands, and she's looking very anxious at her hands, and then they make eye contact, and she looks like, I don't know, she looks like, you doing something. This is
Witch!
Something's happening to
Witch!
me. Witch, and you doing something. She is, again, she thinks Lena is sus, okay? And so that night, Lena gets up and she goes to look at more cells under the microscope, but this time she has taken her own blood, and she's looking at her own blood, and it's very clear that she does not like what she is seeing under that microscope. So then we flash to the sex scene again, but this time we get a conversation between Lena and Dan afterwards. And, she says the affair is a mistake and she wants to end it. And more importantly, Kane knows about it. She confirms Kane knows. Dan is so pretentious in this conversation. He is like, we have a, what does he say? We have a physical and an intellectual, whatever.
Yeah.
He gives the sense of like, we're above the immorality of affairs because we're both academics. We're smart people. So we can have sex with each other, and it doesn't matter that we're both married. Like, that's what he's
Who cares about spouses?
Right.
Who cares about vows?
Right. Anyway, so when we get back to the team, Lena is awakened at gunpoint by Lena, who's calling her a lying bee. And then, Lena's like, what's going on? And she's like, you don't get to ask no questions. Boom. And like, knocks her out with the butt of her gun. And then when Lena comes to, she is tied to a chair. She's bound and gagged. To her left, Dr. V is also bound and gagged. To her right, Josie is also bound and gagged. And Anya is holding the locket up and questioning her about who this is. Who is Kane to you? You're a liar. And so Anya then sheds doubt on whether or not Cass is actually dead, because she's like, what we know about you now is that you're a liar, and you and Dr. V say you saw this bear, but I didn't see no bear. Josie didn't see no bear. So, she's going through it, right? And she's like, when I look at my hands, my fingerprints are moving. If you cut me open like they cut that man open, are my insides going to be moving? And then she has a moment of clarity. Well, for her. And she's like, but I'm not going to be the one getting chopped up because I'm not the one tied to a chair. And then they're like, she about to chop us up, right? So just as Lena thinks Anya is about to kill her, they hear screams outside, and it's Cass screaming for help. And Anya declares that she knew Lena was lying about this, and she runs out of the cabin. But it was not Cass. It was not Cass who was screaming. The bear that took Cass through the fence enters the house, and when it opens its mouth, out comes Cass's screams for help. So mind you, the bear, this is the bear skull thing that Dan Erickson was talking about.
Yes.
Because he doesn't have a regular bear face. It's just a skull. And every time it opens his mouth, it's like Cass screaming for help. I'm over here. Please help me. And just as it looks like the bear is about to get Lena next, a very injured Anya limps back into the house and starts shooting the bear. And so the bear leaps between Lena and Josie and knocks their chairs over and just rips Anya and finishes her off the same way it killed Cass. It rips her throat out. And then it goes back towards Lena, but Josie has at this point been able to free herself from her chair, and she shoots the bear until finally it dies. Okay. There's a whole lot happening here. So next, Lena is covering up Anya's body, and before she's even cold, Dr. Ventress packs up and she's like, I'm continuing on to the lighthouse. This thing is clearly changing us, and I want to finish the mission as the person that I started. It's the beginnings of dementia. I need to get out of here before my mind is completely gone. So she leaves in the night. And then the next morning, Lena wakes up to find that Josie is already sitting outside, and she just seems at peace and she's communing with nature, right? And Lena confirms Josie's theory, stating that she saw it, quote, it in her blood under the microscope. And Josie then shares another theory. She thinks that part of Cass's mind fused with the bear while she was dying. And that's why it's her screams, it's her last moments that got imprinted into the bear. And then Josie looks down at her arms, and her veins are kind of rising up out of her skin, and they look like little vines, and they're growing little leaves and little flowers. And she looks up at Lena and she says, I don't want the same things that you and Dr. V want. I don't think I want that. And then she gets up and she begins to walk away, and she has a sense of calm about her that clearly worries Lena. And so she's walking through these like canopies of flowers, and then Lena chases after her. But when she gets through the other side, Josie is not there. It appears she has become one of the flower people that we saw when they first got there. So then we go back to the present, and the man in the hazmat suit tells Lena that one by one, your crew has been dying. You owe us an explanation. And Lena's like, I didn't think I owed you an explanation, but I mean, clearly there was a reason that I had to come back. And I don't think these people had to come back, but I did. Yeah. So that's that section.
All right. So this section, again, this is where it becomes like horror movie. If it wasn't already with the guts part, this bear scene, my goodness. So one of the things that just kind of annoyed me in like Anya's rant with basically where she's interrogating them and she's talking about, we didn't see a bear. It's like, but you heard rustling in the grass, and clearly Lena was standing right there when you rolled up. So how could she have done anything? Like it just,
Rodnesha, she's already crazy at this point.
You're right.
So you can't expect her to like follow the logic. She's already been losing it.
You're right.
And that's why I think, I think it was affecting her earlier, because her explanations back at Fort Maya weren't logical either.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, fair enough. Because I was just like, girl, I mean, your eyes saw, your ears heard. Did you? But you're right. Rationality is out the window. Okay, fair enough.
That's funny. I don't know what my sentence here in this notes was supposed to be, but I want to cycle back to what it is you didn't like about Gina Rodriguez's performance, because I was thinking, I was like, this girl real hit or miss for me, but I was like, dang, she playing the hell out of this. I thought she did great, and I was like, this is so different for her, and I think she's definitely playing going crazy. The way she's portraying going crazy, I thought worked really well.
That I will give you. Yes. It was the moments where she came in and was trying to be aggressive that I didn't buy. That's when I was kind of like, it feels like she's forcing this, like like it didn't seem natural to her to be so aggressive. The unhinging, I bought.
Yeah.
The unhinging and like, I don't know what's going on. And that twitchiness I bought from her. But every time she was like, shut the F up. I'm headbutting people. Like her face didn't give me like someone who really believes they're doing and saying what they're doing in that moment. So that's where she lost me.
Okay. I guess devil's advocate. Do we think that was Gina, or do we think that was Anya?
Gina. For me.
I was like, I feel like Anya's trying to be hard, but she's not hard.
I think, but again, I think it's because even in earlier moments where she was like, even her like being this like kind of butch lesbian, I didn't really buy it.
Okay.
So I think the hardness just never really landed for me, even in the earlier scenes. So I think I say Gina. I don't think it's just this moment, but this moment cemented where I was like, no, I get the crazy. I'm like, yeah, okay, yes. But it's in every time she tried to act hard and act tough, I was like, man, I really wish I could see Michelle Rodriguez do this.
That's so funny. No, that's too. I didn't think of Michelle Rodriguez, but as soon as I saw you write her name in the notes, I was like, oh yeah, yeah, she would be great. Would have been perfect.
Again, not fully knocking her in this part. I think there were certain things that I could buy and other things that I was kind of like, it feels forced. Just me.
Yeah.
Just me. But I do think that she had the mental unhinging part down.
Yeah.
And if she had kind of lived in that place instead of trying to come out and be tough, I would have been fine with it. But it's the
Yeah.
moments where she's trying to be hard that I'm like, no, no, no. So that was my thing. That was it with that. So I noticed some of the music that was happening when Lena went off and that the point where she saw the deer, it sounded very Last of Us, which is interesting because The Last of Us, the show, hadn't obviously occurred at this point. I was like, oh, this is a similar music style. And I meant to look up and see who the
Yeah, I was
composer.
just like, who is the composer?
Because it had a similar, like, eerie, ethereal, like, vibe to it. Can't explain it, but and it's again being out in the woods and this weird thing going on. I was like, this is having very similar Last of Us moments for me. The other thing, while you're looking that up, the other thing that I noticed in that moment, I was like, okay, so the deer are white, the alligator was white, and then the bear, I kind of noticed in the bear scene that looked like his fur was kind of grayish. It's hard to see because it's dark, but it definitely was reflecting light more than absorbing it, so it wasn't dark fur. So I was like, why are all the animals white? Is a prism thing? Is this a light thing? Is this a because it feels like it has to tie into the shimmer and refracting
Yeah.
light. So I'm like, are just all the animal hybrids gonna be pale, white versions? I just noticed that was a common trait.
Yeah. I don't know. So the composer, it's not the same composer, but the composers, plural, of Annihilation, Ben Salisbury and Geoff Barrow,
Okay.
have also composed for some other sci-fi things, including
Hmm.
an episode of Black Mirror.
Okay.
Fun fact.
Okay.
But no, it's not the same as The Last of Us.
All right. Well, then maybe, I don't know, maybe took some influence from this movie, or maybe they're not connected at all, but it just gave me a similar vibe when I was listening to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think the white has to do with the prism aspect of the shimmer. If
Yeah.
nothing else, just that white helps reflect light around. So maybe it wants to endorse the ability to continue to make prisms by having light be more refractable, by having everything be white. This is all a theory. I don't know science, but I'm just making guesses based on the limited knowledge I have. But I did notice that. So I was like, I wonder if the birds would be white. Like in this environment, would there be a lack of or a lessening of color, which is interesting because then all the spore things and the flowers are colorful. I don't know. I don't get it. All right. I lost the thread because I was like, I guess not everything can be totally white.
Yeah.
But everything looked rainbow colored. So everything had a prism that was a color, was like a color within the rainbow spectrum. So maybe there's something in that.
Well, isn't that just colors in general? That's how colors work.
Well, but like I guess where we have primary colors and secondary colors and then like colors that are blends, right? Really in the rainbow spectrum, it's only the colors that can be like primaries and then those primaries that make, you know what I'm saying? Like red and green make orange. So you're only seeing in a rainbow spectrum, like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, right? Or whatever. I'm just saying
Red
that
and
like
green don't make orange. Yes, yes.
Oh, I don't know what I said. What did
Yeah,
I say?
yeah, I get what you're saying.
I
I get
red
what
and
you're
green?
saying though.
Did
We
I say
get
red and
the
green?
Yeah, you said red and green make orange, and I laughed in my mind. I was like, no, baby, that's not it.
So tired.
My painter brain said, nope, that's not it.
That doesn't even go together at all. What was I?
That makes brown because
It
those
does.
are opposite. Those are contrasting colors.
Oh.
That's what that makes. But yeah, I get what you're saying. The rainbow, yeah, is the primary colors and then the colors in between
Well,
them.
I guess
But
what I'm
yeah,
saying is like in nature, you see an array of
yeah,
colors and browns, but like here, you don't see it so much. It's mostly just like spectrumy colors. So I wonder, again, because of the way it's
yeah,
refracting light, if you see colors, you're only going to see those colors that fall within that spectrum.
yeah. I don't know because to be fair and nitpicky about
Okay.
the prism is when you see light refracted into and you get the rainbow,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just those, it's not just Roy G. Biv
Right.
if you are able to look closer at it because
True.
it
It's going to be a
is
gradient. Yeah.
yeah, it is a gradient. So you are
Mm-hmm.
getting all of those in betweens. Like red goes into orange, but you got different shades of red orange in between the red and the orange and
See,
so
and this
on.
is where my knowledge stops because again, I just know light goes into a prism prism make a rainbow, rainbow Roy G. Biv. And that is the end of my
Rainbow
knowledge.
yeah, no, but it is, yeah,
but
because
yeah,
it's
no.
like, I don't know the science. I definitely don't know the science behind why sometimes you can see more of it with your with the naked eye versus others. But has to, how like you see a rainbow after the rain, and sometimes it's really vivid, and sometimes it's only some of it. Like I don't know that much, but yeah.
Maybe it's the strength of the prism. I'm making a lot of guesses, you guys. Anyone who's a scientist out there or whatever, feel free to correct everything we're saying.
Someone who knows is watching this,
especially if you heard this person full out with their whole chest say red and green. What did I say? Orange and red?
Said red and green make orange. I was like, nope. Try again.
I didn't even clock whatever colors I pulled. I just said 1 + 1 = 5, right? Okay, moving on. I'm leaving that in. I'm not afraid to make myself look like a fool. Okay. Okay. So another question I have. I noticed when they show Cass's body, right, and you see that the bear thing has ripped out her throat. Is that how it's able to mimic screams, you think? Because it does the same thing later with Anya. So I was like, is that how it's able to replicate voices by...
Well, I had more questions
to
build onto your question. Because,
sure.
So do we think, because of that, if that's how we think it happened, do we think the bear now also has Anya's screams?
Theoretically, it should.
Or do the mutations come in waves and it's not continuous, meaning Cass just died screaming as the bear was ripping her throat out at a time where, for whatever reason, he was going through another mutation, and now it has their screams, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's just going around collecting sounds.
I don't know.
Like, so is his mutation like, is it a one-time mutation, or is his mutation that he has the ability to capture sounds in that way?
Yeah, don't know. And then it's interesting because Josie later says, she's conjecturing about it. She says, like, I think as she was dying, part of her mind became part of the creature that was killing her.
Yeah.
So then I was kind of like, oh, is that how it works? Or is it a physical ingestation, or is it mental, or is it both? Or
well, and that made me want to go back, and I didn't have time to do it. That made me want to go back and see if the screams that we get in the cabin exactly match what was screamed, or does she say other things? Because I kind of think it's the latter. I think in the cabin, the screams and the help me is more than what we got when...
I do remember her saying help me when she was drug away.
Okay.
So I do remember, and that's only because the screen captions were up and I heard it.
Oh,
I think it was as she got further into the distance, you heard help me, but it was getting lower.
Okay, well then that scratches that, because what I was gonna say is, maybe if it is Josie's, maybe Cass is in there somewhere still screaming for help.
Oh, that's really awful.
And if it was the case that novel words were being generated out of the bear, then maybe like her mind is still in there. But I don't know.
That's even scarier. I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
And then my question is, does this bear have the ability to recall any voice it has consumed, ingested, whatever? Or is it just whatever the last person was?
Right. And that makes me think of, it's funny because for a while I was like, am I watching the wrong Annihilation? Because where is this screaming bear? Where is this screaming bear that Dan was talking about? Oh, here it is. That's it. But he was saying, like, has all the voices of its past victims. And I was like, do we hear any other screams at any point? I don't know. I don't recall, but maybe.
It makes sounds, but again, it's hard to tell if it's other voices or if it's just a screech that's, I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting. Either way, it's disturbing as all get out. This scene, like, of everything in this movie, this is the one thing that cemented itself into my long-term memory. I was like, oh, I'll never unsee that. I'll never unhear that. That's terrifying. Yeah, no, and I definitely see why Dan said, like, this was one of those moments of like, oh, why didn't I write this? Because it's like, it's so wild, it's so novel, iconic.
Yeah.
So, okay, we'll jump ahead to the Dan Lena stuff. Don't like Dan. Don't like Dan. Like you said in the synopsis, like he's so presumptive. He's so like kind of narcissistic in his like it was one of those apologies that aren't an apology type of thing. Like, I mean, what are we doing? I mean, what's the problem? I mean, and the fact that even Lena's like, yeah, you're leaving out your wife. And he's like, yeah, okay, I love her, but and it's like,
yeah, she's innocent in this, but okay. So you recognize that she's not at fault. You know, she didn't cause you to have an affair or anything, but you clearly have no remorse about it.
Or any plans to stop it.
Yeah.
Ugh, gross. You're gross, sir.
He was gross. He was gross. But also in general, I didn't need this confirmation of their affair. I didn't need a scene confirming their affair. You know, I think the confirmation of the affair doesn't make me lean more or less to like reasonings, you know, motivations for Lena and Kane. I think there's enough of us just knowing that there's an affair happening, like, oh, he probably knew about it, and maybe that affected
But do
him
we
going
need to
in,
see
or
Lena's remorse in real time? Like, do you think that that maybe is why, so that people understand that maybe she did feel bad about it in that moment and not just when Kane came back?
I'm going to go ahead and say no for me, because again, I still don't think that was enough of a reason. Going back to what I said at the beginning, I don't think that was enough of a reason for her to think she owed going on a suicide mission to him. So that I feel like I would feel that, I still feel that way, knowing that she knows for sure that he knew about the affair.
True. I mean, if nothing else, it's just cementing in that self-destructive theme, right? Of like, why are you doing this really though? And then you've got this guy, he's kind of a douche. So what are you doing? It kind of seems like, you know, this is a dumb idea.
It was also gratuitous sex, right? Because they could have done the continuation. They could have cut to the conversation, but they started it back with the same sex scene that we had already seen. That was unneeded.
Yeah. Agree. That I'll give you that. We didn't need to. It's like, all right, we get it. You can arch your back. Woo. Like you do Pilates. Big whoop. So yeah, so I'll give you that. I do agree with that. And it also made me upset with Lena too. Because as much as I dislike Dan, I'm also like, girl, you had the inclination that your husband caught you. He just went off on this mission. You don't know if he's coming back or not. And you still called homeboy up to have a hookup.
That's true. If we think this happened after he already left, then that does make it effed up. That should have been enough for you to be like, this is over, this is done. My husband knows what's going on. Get one last in. Was the D that good?
Right? Please tell me it was, because otherwise I don't understand why. Why? Please let there be at least one reason, like, but I gotta get on it one more time. Just one good more time.
One last time.
And then she was like, all right, get out. I hate you. Get out.
I did like that line where he was like, you know, you don't hate me, you hate yourself. And she was like, no, Dan, I hate you too.
That was the smuggest thing he could have said. And I loved her response. I was like, yeah, you suck, Dan. Get out of here, Dan. Ugh. All right. Enough about Dan. He shouldn't get any more of our time. I think this does confer the plant people thing, right? That they were people, right? And
yes, I think so. Yeah.
For a second, I doubted myself because I was like, I'm pretty sure I have a very clear memory of being like, oh, the plants are people. They were people.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, I started doubting myself and was like, oh, wait, were they always just plants that just look like people? And I was like, no, they're definitely plant people, like people who became plants. Okay. So I just had to clarify. I was like, right?
Yeah.
And then do we think because we don't see her exact form or figure. We just see her disappear behind a bush. And then when Lena gets to her, there's no trace of her.
Multiple plant people.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, did she go off into that little segment, or did she just become flowers and then just evaporate away?
Yeah. We don't know for sure if one of those people that are there is what she turned into. I think that was my assumption when I first watched it, but then seeing your question, I was like, yeah, we don't know. She might just be plants. But she definitely turned into plants in some way.
Yeah. She's definitely,
you know what I mean?
She's a plant. She's one with the shimmer.
She's one with nature, literally. I just was like, after I watched this 3 times, guys. I really like this movie. Definitely a different experience with this than Dark City last time. But I was like, I really like this ending for Josie's character.
Yeah.
Because I know we put in our summary earlier, like, we don't know if she was suicidal or if she was just a cutter. But I think my initial take of it was that she attempted suicide, because there's a line where Lena directly asks that, and Cass says something like, I don't think she was trying to end her life. She was trying to escape something.
She said something like, was she trying to kill herself? She's like, I think she was just trying to
Feel
feel.
something.
So that's what made me think
of
cutter.
cutting. Yeah.
Because I was like, typically that is indicative of someone who cuts is usually they're just trying to get some type of stimulus of feeling because they're numb in that way.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that she didn't also try to take her life at some point as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And so I was like, because I feel like she had tried to do that at some point, she went in such a peaceful way where she was accepting of it. And she was like, actually, I just want to give in to what's happening to my body. I don't want to fight it
against
or
it.
explain it. And then she walks off, and I just was like, okay, so it got to end her life in a way that didn't make her think she wishes she had ended it earlier, because can you imagine if she died how Cass or Anya died? She would have been like, I should have just done it back then. You know what I mean?
When I was in control. Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, she was she was not in control because the shimmer was doing it to her, but she was in control. She gave into it, and that was kind of having control over the situation.
Exactly. I mean, she had the choice, like she said in her speech. You want to fight it. Ventress wants to face it. I don't think I want any of those things. Right. So, and maybe her answer was, I just want to feel it. Right. So if it's fight, face, if we're talking fight, flight, flee, whatever, maybe hers is like, I just want to embrace it. I just want to feel it. So it is a very nice ending, even though it is still kind of traumatic because it's like, I got another one. But for her, she was able to just accept and move through it rather than live in terror. And there's not a lot we get about Josie's background. We don't know what her upbringing was. We don't know her why. We don't know all these things other than, again, she's self-harming in some kind of way. And even as a physicist, there's this struggle to, I'm sure, understand the world around you. And, I know, and this is a blanket statement, but I know there are a lot of people who go into science because they are just trying to get their why, and they're trying to find explanations for the things around them. And so maybe that's part of her story. We don't know, but it was interesting. And this is another thing that made me think that she was actually, this was when I thought she was a cutter for sure, is where the where the flowers grew out of her arm looked like it was the places where she may have self-harmed.
Well, yeah, and Cass did say that up until that point, this is the first time we see her with her sleeves
and that's
off.
right. We don't
Cass
see her
says,
arms.
like, she covers her arms for them. Yeah.
So that was kind of the indicator too, when she's sitting there in a t-shirt. It's like, we ain't seen her arms this whole time. What's going on? And then you see them little weeds and vines growing out. I was like, oh no. Okay, well, all right. I guess maybe this is nice for you. And maybe once she started to actually feel life coming out of her, maybe that made her feel more, quote, alive than she had felt outside of the shimmer. So maybe that gave her some sense of purpose. Like, I'm going to go on to be part of this living organism, and I'm going to feel like I matter and I'm giving to something, who knows what she's
it was very much giving, like when someone on their deathbed says, I'm ready to go.
Ready. Yeah. So as sad as it was and traumatic as it was for us and Lena, as we see in the subsequent set of scenes, it was a nice moment for Josie. So
yeah,
I hope she's resting easy with the flower beds. Oh, my final thing was when they go back to the present day, and hazmat guy is talking to her, and he says, because he's asking her about why, nobody's coming back and why you were the one who did, and da-da-da. And I can't remember what Lena said to him, but he responded and said, Ventress had cancer. She was never coming back. So this is the first indication we get as to what Ventress's why is, right? And I had missed that the first time around. I was like, oh, this is when we find out she was sick.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he asked her, he was like, you knew. And she was like, I guessed.
Yeah.
So that means going into this, or at least at some point, Lena had an understanding of what was going on with her.
Yeah.
So I was just like, interesting. And so my question, I guess, was, and we don't really get an answer, but it was like, was Ventress hoping to find a cure maybe within this ecosystem? Or is she just like looking for something wild to do at the end of her life because she knows it's coming? I'm still not clear on what her why is.
I think she was like trying to correct that she had sent so many people in to die. I think she was she didn't want her work to be in vain, and she knew she was running out of time.
Okay.
And she says something to the effect of, I put together these crews of volunteers, and then I watch as they enter and they don't come back.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Right. Okay.
Yeah, so I think she
Okay.
was like, I need to do I need to figure out what this is and stop it
All right.
while I still have time left.
Okay, cool. I'll take that. All right. Anything else?
No.
Okay, guys, it's time to go to the lighthouse. Finally, dun dun dun. So, Lena stands alone in the woods, crying in despair. She pulls herself together and continues through the wood. And once she reaches the beach, we see that she has dropped her gear in the sand. She's only got her gun in hand and she starts heading toward the lighthouse. As she approaches the lighthouse, we see these sharp glass like tree structures surrounding the perimeter, as Kali has displayed in her background. Very different from what we have seen in the rest of the shimmer. It seems to only be around, oh, I just got why. Because sand.
Sand. Yeah, makes glass.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. It just occurred to me. I was like, why
I have a
there?
question about that later.
Oh,
We
okay.
will come
All
back
right.
to that.
Cool, cool, cool. So uh as she gets closer to the lighthouse, we also see that there is a perimeter of skeletal remains. We see a row of limbs and then a row of skulls and then a shorter row of torsos. The bones aren't quite matching up, so I don't know what's happening there, but it looks like maybe four bodies, but there's more heads than there are torsos. So again, I don't
Yeah.
understand. Anyway, once Lena gets inside, she spies a random hole in the floor, and then she also looks up to see the staircase that's ascending the lighthouse, and we see kind of viney growth going up the staircase. And then she also notices a scorched body that is just sitting cross-legged against the wall, but opposite that body is another camcorder. How many cameras did they have in here? Anyway, so she approaches it with hesitation because I mean, the last time we took a look at some footage, it was not cool. So, what are we going to see this time? So, she flips it on, and the footage shows kind of some different scattered scenes. We see the shoreline of the beach, which she's already been on. Then we see the glass trees, which she's already approached. We see the skeletons. We see the hole. And then the footage becomes even more fragmented, and we get a clip of Kane's face as he is clearly descending underground. And then it cuts quickly to this strange morphing light entity. And then it becomes a tunnel. And then we see that tunnel is leading toward this humanoid figure. Don't know what that is. And then the footage regulates back out because it's just kind of like quick cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get like a full scene again. And this is where we see Kane, and he's looking back at someone who's behind the camera. And we see him reach into his military pack and he grabs something and then he goes to sit down on the ground. So Kane says, I thought I was a man. I had a life. People called me Kane. And now I'm not so sure. So clearly he's losing his mind too. He further rambles about his flesh moving and his mind fragmenting, and you can see he's just very disoriented and distressed. And then we can see that he has reached the edge of his rope. So he pulls the trigger on this phosphorus grenade. He mentions that that's what it is in the video, and he begins to count down. And then he says to the person behind the camera to find Lena if he gets out. And the voice responds, I will. And then the grenade goes off. We see this bright light and it just engulfs the body sitting there. Doesn't scream, doesn't nothing. It's just burnt. And then after that dies down, the person behind the camera emerges and turns around. And before it even turns around, we see Lena freaking out, right? And then when it turns around, we see it's Kane question mark. Well, what? So Lena immediately shuts the camcorder off. She is completely freaked out. And then she looks at that hole and she's just like, all right, we got to figure out what's going on here. So curiosity continues to motivate her to descend down the rabbit hole, but she is smart and she does point her gun down there first. And I appreciate that. Military training always. So she then starts to hear a voice that it seems like she recognizes. And so she decides to start crawling down. And as she does, she sees someone sitting on the floor and they're just kind of swaying. And Lena doesn't see the face on point of view, but we do. And we see that this person's face is completely black. The eyes are like not there. It's almost like either there's skin plastered over the eyes or they just don't exist. But it looks similar to the wall casing around her, like the same type of material, which we don't know what it is. And so she's swaying and saying all this random stuff. And she mentions to Lena that it's the last phase. And she begins to ramble some more about how everything is vanishing into havoc and all this other stuff. So when she turns around to look at Lena, her face returns to normal, and we see that it is indeed Dr. Ventress. She has made it to her final destination, but she's struggling to recall the last conversation she had with Lena. And then she starts to get a piece of it, and she's like, oh, right, yeah, we were talking about the lighthouse and me needing to get there. But I'm beyond that now. I'm beyond needing to know what's here because it's inside of me. Huh? What? So, and she begins to talk about how she doesn't know what it wants or if it wants, but she knows that it will grow until it continues to consume everything. And then she ends by saying our bodies and our minds will become fragmented until nothing remains. Annihilation. And then we just see her mouth flip up and light starts shooting out her throat. And literally, she's just writhing, and we see all these light particles just shooting out her body. It's weird. She's screaming. And then all of a sudden, the light particles become kind of ribbons. And before you know it, bright light, Ventress is gone. And all we see are these little kind of light cellular particles that are continuing to divide, but nothing's left. No more Ventress. But those light particles start to form this morphing entity. So next thing you know, we see Lena looking at this amorphous blob thing, but it's like continuing to fold in on itself. It's like a kaleidoscope in a way. And it has a light at the center of it, but the particles around it are constantly like folding and shifting. And so we see Lena looking at it, and it's almost like this thing has her in a bit of a trance. She's like drawn into it. She can't really pull herself away from it. She's caught in its gaze. And while she's staring at it, there's like clearly a cut or something on her nose that has like blood coming out of it. And the thing sucks the blood off of Lena's face and sucks it into itself. And then we see it start to divide and split into cells and other things. And all of a sudden, the amorphous blob has cellularly divided into this humanoid alien-like figure, similar to what we saw in Kane's video. No defining features, iridescent skin, no eyes, creepy. So at this point, Lena kind of snaps out of the trance and she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. She starts shooting at it. Bullets are completely repelled. That doesn't work. And so then she books it back towards the tunnel to try to get above the surface. Now she has taken off. And from what we can see at that point, the thing is behind her. But as she clears the hole, the thing is gone. And then once she surfaces up to the top, the thing is there. And so she sees that and she's realizing that this thing is standing between her and the door. So she quickly takes the tripod, tries to strike the humanoid with it. It smacks her back in the face enough to like knock her out. And so now she's unconscious. And then when it comes to, we see the humanoid like go to the floor like she is, and then starts to mimic her like trying to regain consciousness. It's very weird. And so it's continuing clearly to try to like understand her. So it's like doing the same movements, but obviously it's just like, as she put it earlier, an echo. So Lena wakes up and then once again tries to escape for the door. She books it, but guess what? She's not fast enough, not for the thing. And it slams itself against her back and just presses in on her. The more she tries to resist, the more its force on her increases to the point that it looks like it's going to crush her, but just enough for her to again lose consciousness and fall out on the floor. And then when they both go to pass out, the thing does the same shadowy movement, stumbles to the ground. They both fall out on the ground. Blacks out again, come to again. Now it seems like Lena comes to and maybe has had a moment to kind of like realize, okay, that didn't work. What are we going to do? So before it starts to stir, or she starts to stir, she kind of takes a second. And then she rises up. It starts to rise up. And then she realizes that Shadow moves with her. So she uses that to her advantage. Shadow walks the humanoid towards Kane's pack, reaches in, grabs a phosphorus grenade, holds it in the humanoid's hand, holds it with her hand to make sure that it doesn't do anything with it. And as she's touching the humanoid's hand, that thing starts to morph and shift again.
Oh, it made my skin crawl.
In the weirdest, grossest way. And then she realizes that it is turning into her. It looks just like her. And I think she's having multiple epiphanies at once at this point. But the thing, while it has her face and has her movements, clearly has no understanding or reasoning of its own. It's just puppeting what it was fashioned after. So before it has a chance to kind of recognize or realize anymore, she like thumb triggers the phosphorus grenade. She uses the other entity's hand to cover it, and then she books it, and then that thing just poofs in its hand, and she gets to the other side of the door and turns around to see it to make sure it's still inside, and it's just holding the thing, looking very confused and just burning up. And then right And then the door closes. And then clearly, this entity has no concept of fire or burning or any of that.
No pain.
So it does feel it, but then it continues to touch everything around it. So it goes to touch Kane's ashes, and then the ashes catch on fire, and then it touches the veiny wall, and then the veins catch on fire. So now the whole lighthouse is on fire. This lighthouse on fire. Yeah, okay. And Lena's watching it all happen from outside, but she's also noticing that as the lighthouse is catching and continuing to go up in flame, the glass trees out front are disintegrating. It seems like all the structures that are kind of tied into the shimmer are starting to dissolve. And the entity looks like it's struggling to get back into its like hidey hole and maybe try to like heal, but clearly that can't happen. So it's just continuing to deteriorate. And everything that has been built by the entity in the shimmer is disintegrating with it. So next thing you know, we see the shimmer shield that has surrounded this whole area, and it evaporates and dissolves, and everything looks normal again. And that's that. So the last thing we see, we go back to present day, and Lena is finishing her story. Everybody looks astounded that's watching her, even through like the masks. She finishes her story, and the Inquisitor declares, "So it was an alien," and she nods. And then he tries to prod Lena for more information about it. Was it carbon based? Was it this and that? Blah, blah, blah. And she's just like, I don't know. I can't give you any more than just what I experienced. And she says that whatever it wasn't destroying, it was changing everything. It was trying to make something new. And he confirms that a team did find the lighthouse in ashes, like she said, and everything around it is dead. So whatever she encountered is likely dead too. And then Lena takes a sip of her water, much like we saw in the earlier scene with Kane, but nothing weird happens. No blood, no nothing. She puts the water down and then asks what happened to her husband. The scientist says that Kane's blood pressure has stabilized. All his vitals are returning to normal. He's awake and lucid, but still in isolation. So we finally see them allow Lena to come face to face with Kane. She goes inside the little isolation chamber that they have. And once inside, he looks at her, but the look is a little different than kind of the vacant expression that he had in the house earlier. And she says to him, "You're not Kane, are you?" And he says, "I don't think so," and asks, "Are you Lena?" And she nods. Then he gets up, moves toward her, and just gives her like the biggest embrace. And she returns it. And as they're embracing in that final shot, we get a close up on Kane's face, and it shows the prism like iridescence in the iris of his eye. And then we swing around to get a close up on Lena, and it shows a similar iridescence showing up in her eye. It isn't immediate. It starts off with her eye color and then slowly morphs into that shimmer like glow that we have seen. And that is the end of Annihilation. All right. I forgot how long that section was.
I have so many questions, and I was like, oh, trying to write more notes because the things were coming up as you were rereading.
Oh, right,
as you were reading that. I was like, oh, okay.
Let's go back to just her approaching, right? She's getting to the lighthouse. We're heading in.
So the glass trees. That's my first question.
Yes.
Okay. So the theory that we have up to this point is it is refracting. It's refracting things that we know get refracted: sound waves, light waves, things with waves get refracted, right? But it's refracting DNA too, right? So we've seen up to this point that living organisms across species are getting mushed and morphed together, right? Makes sense. Then we get to these glass trees.
Okay.
And one thing I noticed right away is that they're very close to the ocean, not typically right where trees grow.
Right.
And they don't look like trees that you typically see, just the shape of them that you typically see around, like, they don't look like tropical trees. They're not palms, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I was like, that's a weird shape for these trees. And then, like you said, I made the connection, like, okay, they have turned into glass because they're on the sand, and that's how glass is made, right? But then I was like, wait a minute. But the glass and the sand are not living organisms. They don't have DNA to be refracted or melded into plant DNA. So is the theory incorrect and the prism is altering all matter, period. And they just, up until this point, haven't seen, like they haven't,
yeah.
when we have seen things that look like maybe non-living matter is changing, it still looks like living matter on top of it. So like, vines coming out of the walls and stuff look, or, the fungusy things look like, the building itself wasn't changed. It's something on top of it. But this is like either this glass grew up into trees or there were trees here that turned into glass, but the glass is not, the glass is not a living organism.
Right. So I do think it is the matter thing that you were saying. I think it's just combining different components of matter. But I do also think that, again, it goes back to the prism aspect, because the thing that I thought was like, oh, this is like when light passes through a magnifying glass. And that's usually how you get the heat to make sand into, a glass meld or whatever. So I'm wondering if, again, maybe those trees, it's that way because it's a byproduct of being near the light source, and the prism acts as like a magnifier. And maybe, again, is it living organic DNA? No, but is it combining with the other matter aspects? Probably so.
Yeah. And I think I was like, the tree part doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, okay, it's closer to the lighthouse, so maybe the lighthouse is giving off stuff, and it's making these shoots, because amongst the trees there's also just shoots of glass coming out, like stalactites. Which ones are up and which ones stalagmites? Whichever one is up. they're that one, right? They're coming up out of the ground.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, the trees would make me think that unless there was some other plant life, I don't know. Maybe I'm being nitpicky, because the trees are so weird. If it was like, the glass was in the shape of like seaweed mounds or kelp mounds on the, I would be like, oh, it changed that. It was already there.
There could be enough plant life near there for it to morph into whatever this is. And maybe that's why it doesn't quite look like a tree that makes sense there, because it's just grabbing whatever plant DNA and just changing it. I don't know. Guesses.
Yeah. Okay. But I was like, these are glass, not a different mutation of the tree.
Yeah. Okay. My only thing in the moment with Ventress, I just got mad at Lena, because I was like, you just gonna stand there and watch her combust? Clearly she's combusting. Nothing you can do. Why are you still there? Get out of there. And then when she stayed there long enough for the blob thing to appear and entrance her, I was like, see, now I'm mad at you, because you could have been out of here by now.
Right. Yeah.
And now it done made a copy of you.
Right. Okay. I'm going to backtrack a little bit, and then I have a question about the blob thing. Okay. But as a Texan and an actress, are better able at detecting subtle accents in general. But,
I know what you're going to say.
Subtle Southern accents.
Yeah.
So I want to know if I missed something. But am I wrong in saying that Kane did not have a country accent until just in this video? Or did he have a subtle accent earlier? Because I didn't catch one.
If he had one, he made it way more prominent in this final scene than he had at any point in the beginning. Honestly, in the beginning, it sounded just like normal Oscar Isaac to me.
Exactly.
So I didn't pick up on it. No.
Yeah, I was like, why is he country all of a sudden? Because he wasn't country in the other video either. And then his double sounds like normal Oscar Isaac when he says I will.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what is this? Is the shimmer even changing the way people speak?
It's giving accents.
I don't understand that shit. I was so thrown. I was like, but people call me Kane. I was like,
I thought I was a man. And now I don't know. Now I'm not so sure anymore.
Yeah, I was like, who is this?
That moment was funny, because I had the same thing of like, whoa, did I miss him doing that earlier? It didn't sound like it when they was just rolling around in bed. So I don't know. I don't know if this was a dissociative moment where he's like, I'm losing my mind. I think I'm country. I don't know who I am anymore.
I don't know who I am. Right? Yeah. Yeah. It was very strange. It was very strange. And then I was like, wait, are we supposed to believe that that's the alien and it's actually Kane that was behind the camera? Because he doesn't sound right.
That would be an interesting plot twist. It's like, no, your husband really did come back to you, just different.
Yeah. But okay, back to the blob.
Okay.
Were the sounds during that time just the sci-fi score, or do we think it was trying to communicate with Lena? Because it was like, and it was happening at different times of it moving, and then it kind of lingered when the body double was mirroring her. So that, I mean, it could be either way. It could be more score of that action that was happening, or was it trying to talk to her?
Yeah, I think it was intentionally meant to do both.
That's crazy.
Because it definitely felt like score. And then at a certain point you were like, wait, no, is this score or is this
because it would be like, and then ripple.
I do think it was serving both purposes. It would make sense if it is communicating with her, because both her and Ventress, it felt like they did have some way to understand its
insight
needs or insights or whatever. So maybe that was what that was. And even the steps that it was making had that little noise to it. So I was just like, oh, this reverberation thing is weird. I can't tell what's it and what's the accompanying music. So I do think it was both.
Yeah.
I think they purposely blended it. It was really effective for sure.
Yeah, it was.
And very unsettling. I think it was trying to add to that mental distortion, right? Of like, I don't know what's reality anymore. Because it's like, is it the music or is it the thing?
Yeah.
So very effective in that way. Do we want to talk about the final scene?
No, not yet. Let's go. Let's get this other little stuff out.
You're like, no.
Okay, so first, this just made me think of the two of them, and the thing mirroring her made me think of mirror neurons.
Oh.
Have you heard of them? Do you know what they are?
Nope. Don't know science.
So mirror neurons are kind of the in the simplest explanation that I can give, because I'm not good at the more detailed one. They are what are responsible for us learning things through imitating others. Monkey see, monkey do. And so mirror neurons fire in our brain when we do an action, but they also fire when we watch someone else do the same action and when we imagine the action. And so I know this because of autism study.
That makes sense.
There are deficits in mirror neurons in people on the spectrum. And that is one of the deficits that I see in teaching young kids is that a lot of them have trouble imitating. And once we can get them to learn to imitate, then they pick up other things better. But if they're missing that, it's really hard. So that's like brain studies have shown that their neurons don't fire in the same way. So they're missing mirror neurons. And it just made me think of, I was like you said in the summary, it was like trying to learn her and mirroring her. And, so that was just a connection. I was like, oh, it's like she's one big mirror neuron thing. And maybe before the explosion happens and she the double looks like it doesn't have anything behind the eyes, is because it didn't have long enough to learn her. Like Kane's double clearly learned him. Like they spent some time together.
That was what I was indicating earlier when we were talking about it, and I wanted to wait till the end. What I wondered was at what point Kane left the bunker hole up that they had. And my theory is that maybe once the rest of his team was gone, he just made for the lighthouse because he didn't know where else to go or what else to do.
Yeah.
And then I wonder, in relation to when he got to the lighthouse, how long he had that thing with him, because it was long enough for that thing to talk back to him and reason and understand.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, did he go there, have the encounter with Entity, make his own little person, and then hang out with him for a bit because he was lonely and crazy?
Yeah.
And then finally just was like, I'm going to end it. I'm done. Because again, like you said, it was enough for it to bond with him to a degree and learn him and reason on its own.
And I think the reason why it asks if she's Lena at the end is because maybe, in replicating Kane, he got some of his brain and his memories, but didn't have an interpretation. And I think he was going more off of Kane talking about his life to him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And was like, oh, you must be who he's talking about. And in the very beginning, he says, I saw you and I recognized you, but I don't really know if he recognized her, more of like, oh, you must be the person he's talking about.
Yeah. That makes sense. Especially with the mirror neuron thing, right? That all kind of tracks, which is wild to think, because I'm just like, wow. So he probably got in there, made a person, and then was like, oh, well, this is kind of nice. But then also realize also I'm losing it. And also you're not really real, or not really me, or maybe
who knows how long he was alone from that point, right? Like with all of the last of his crew died and then he made his way to the lighthouse. How long was that in between there?
I definitely think that's the case, because I don't know how long Lena would have needed to be with her double for it to start being able to communicate or reason or recall, but it seems like it would be a good little chunk of time.
Yeah.
But also time is funny in the shimmer. So who's to say? Could be a day, could be a month.
Okay. I have another connection / question before we get to like the theories and stuff at the end. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So, do we think this situation of everything dying off when it exploded, do we think it is a mushroom forest situation or a mothership? So, the mushroom forest, I can't remember what the specific forest is, but I remember on Hit Record on TV,
Mm-hmm.
we had a interstitial segment thingy about it in the
Mm-hmm.
episode about one, but it's all like one living organism. It's like fields and fields of the
Yeah.
mushroom trees and shoots and things, and it's all one. So if like one end gets sick, the sickness is all throughout, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, is this all connected like the vine that they saw in the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it all dies off? Or
Mm-hmm.
is it like an Independence Day mothership thing where you kill the other
You
the
kill the
mothership
mother.
and
Yeah.
it all trickles down even though they're not physically connected?
Okay. So is it a hive mind or is it a single organism?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's hard to say, but I'm leaning towards single organism
Ooh, okay.
simply because even during that whole disintegration point, everything just continued to flash back to the it thing.
Yeah.
And it seemed like the more it was unhinging, the more the world was unhinging. And again, nothing seemed to independently operate outside of the animals. But again, we didn't see what happened to the animals when the shimmer.
That's true.
And plus the ones we encountered were dead. So we don't know if any other organisms, what happened with them. But we didn't see any animals dying. We just saw the visual aesthetic of the shimmer go away. But my assumption is it is all kind of connected, just based on so much of the shots lingered on all the fungus crawl that went up the walls, or like kind of the fungus on the trees we would see, or like the vines of the plants all kind of like interweaving. So it makes me think probably mushroom forest more than mothership. That's my guess.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That made me think of another question while you were saying it, but I think it might come up in the theories. Okay. So, do you want to start with your end of movie theories or?
Well, so the first thing I was going to say is when the final scene happens, it made me think of the earlier quote that Lena made when they were looking at the alligator. And Dr. Ventures was like, do you think it's crossbreeding? And she's like, species can't crossbreed, between, like, it can't happen between species. And then I was like, but what if there's a little bit of DNA in each, and is this how we are able to like get the thing to continue to grow and spread? Because now there's a little bit of my shimmer DNA in you, and definitely some shimmer DNA in him, and overlapping of the species.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And that does directly connect to the next question I have, which is, why did Kane's double not die when everything else died?
Great question.
So did he not just like, did the alien not just, quote, mirror him? Did it take DNA from him and still has some of his DNA? And maybe there's enough human in him to keep him alive.
Okay. This makes me think if it has to do with maybe time alive, time humanizing, because maybe it's kind of a baking situation, like he's a little more done on the human side of it, right? than Lena's was. So maybe he developed enough human attributes or cellular biology to exist independent of the entity,
of the thing.
Or is it a matter of getting out of the shimmer and being away from the range of the shimmer? Distance. Maybe. But the other thing that cleared up, which was interesting, is that he was no longer sick. So clearly being outside of the shimmer, then it probably was that he shouldn't be existing apart from the shimmer. So maybe the shimmer dying allowed him to have,
it should kill him, but it kind of contradicts, right? Because it makes sense, like, oh, if he's part of the shimmer, he's far away from it now, and that's why he's sick. The shimmer died, everything else related to the shimmer died too. So it would stand to reason that he should be dead. But the opposite happened. He got better.
Now here's another thought. Is he activated by the bit of shimmer that's in Lena? Because if we're thinking of the touch that happened between Lena and the humanoid, does that allow him to reconnect to that shimmer DNA? Because clearly she was still carrying it, even though she wasn't fully consumed by it, but it was enough to be present. So then in their embracing, does it kind of reactivate the shimmer DNA in him, and now they both carry it? I don't know if that makes him human-like Kane, but it makes him able to exist apart from the original shimmer.
Right.
Or other theory, is his shimmer DNA the same as what went down? Because it clearly, like you said, is pulling a part of DNA from Kane and existed in an independent form. So then is the is the Lena DNA version what went down, but it doesn't affect the Kane DNA version? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it because of what DNA they extracted from humans? Does it separate out enough to
Yeah,
make
because
it where it doesn't
it's the
affect?
human part of it has mutated it enough that it can be its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, my Lena theory then is not groundbreaking at all because you just said it, right?
Oh.
So that it's no, they want you to question, right, with the eyes flickering. They want you to question. They were like, "Oh no, did we miss something? Was that the thing that ran out and not the real Lena?" But no,
Mm-hmm.
it is the real Lena. It's just the real Lena with some of that in her
Mm-hmm.
because like she said earlier when she was looking at her blood, it's in me. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
she knows she got shimmery blood cells. So it's in her. But that's her. That's still her.
Maybe the goal of the shimmer was to get into a host that could carry it beyond the shimmer so that it can
Maybe.
exist independent. Because the problem with everybody else is they all went crazy and died before they could get out. So
Yeah.
maybe it just needed to find hosts that were strong enough. And this again goes to more DNA sciencey stuff, strong genetics, whatever, strong enough to exit the shimmer and carry the shimmer off and away. So it found its two
Yeah.
strongest, carriers to
Yeah.
further the species, so to speak.
Yeah. Maybe the Kane double is the shimmer being like, okay, I've been going about this the wrong way. I have been trying to put myself into other things, but I'm clearly changing those things too much. Maybe if I just take in a little bit of something. And that's how Kane Double was born. But then that doesn't explain why it didn't kill Lena, but maybe it was just the timing of it.
I know. Yeah.
But
Again,
also,
I
yeah,
wonder if it's a ratio thing where it's like there wasn't enough
yeah,
shimmer to impact her negatively health wise as
right.
there was like with Kane, where clearly it did. I
Yeah.
don't know.
But then that also brings us back to one of your questions you had earlier about like the timeline of it affecting people. Why isn't Lena more affected?
Agree. Yeah. That I don't know. That I can't figure out.
What about her? Yeah.
Mm.
I can tell you this much. There's no scenario where these two people go home. They're just going to keep them for testing forever. They're just going to be test subjects.
You're right.
Right? There's no scenario where the military lets these two people go.
You're right. In my head, I was like, oh, and then they're going to go home and make shimmer babies and populate the earth.
No, they're not. They're not. They're probably not even going to be. This is probably the only time they're actually going to be able to be with each other.
And
They're
then
probably
they're
going to
immediately
be
off.
set separately and they're going to be poked and prodded and studied.
True. You're right. Because that's the military for you. Yeah. I'm over here dreaming of a happy ending. It's like, oh, they're going to populate the earth with shimmer babies.
Shimmer babies.
But yeah. Oh, this was my final thing. I missed this part. That I was trying to figure out what the self-destruction part was.
Yeah. Okay.
I realized they were actually like physically manifesting that in her fight with her altar, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is like the fully realized, like, I have to destroy myself or I have to destroy the cancerous cells, or I have to destroy the destructive part of me that continues to like degrade my cellular growth, right? So it's like this entity, I have to actually like destroy it so that I can live anew. And
yeah. And when she was talking to hazmat guy and he's like, but it attacked you, and she's like, no, it was just mirroring me, I attacked it, right? So obviously, that the opposite of that. So it was like she you see when she comes to the realization of like, I have to do it to myself if I want to beat it.
I have to destroy myself. Yeah. So I was like, and this is the full unfurling of the self-destruction theme. Started off small with a little hookup glances, and then it ended in a full-on battle with the self.
Yes. Literally.
But yeah, okay. That's all I got. You got anything else?
It's not important, but when Dr. Ventress says annihilation.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It made me think of the Family Guy episode where they're in the movies and they're talking about, there's a cutaway where Peter talks about, it's that feeling you get when the movie says the title of the movie in the movie and you're like, haha, there it is.
There it is.
Like, yep. Annihilation.
Yep. You're right. I did have that moment where it's like, title of the movie. Like there it is. She said it. She said the thing. Yeah. I like that. That's a good way to end. All right, guys. Well, that is our recap, reflections, thoughts, etc. on the movie Annihilation. How are we feeling about this one?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all in.
I watched it 3 times because I wanted to, not because I had to.
And I'll probably watch it again at some point because, again, it is a good movie.
Yeah. And again, if you have a local library card, I mean, we're not sponsored, but it Canopy if you want to sponsor us, because I've been talking about it a lot. Because I mean, let me tell you, Rodnesha, when you blew my mind when you told me this is a thing that you could do, and I was like, what? I told my mom about it, and she was like, "What? I have a library card." And I was like, "Exactly. I'm gonna tell you how to download this app." But it's only 2 tickets, and I know it works. Different cities do different things, but my local library gives me 30 tickets for free a month. So only 2 tickets to watch this. It's a good deal.
It is a good deal, and it supports the public good that is the library. So shout out to Canopy, shout out to the libraries everywhere.
So be sure to follow us on all of the social medias. We're on Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram, Lemonade, YouTube. We are at the UUR Pod on all socials. You can also email us at theuurpod@gmail.com. We'd love to know your thoughts on Dan's Sci-Fi Recs thus far. And what are your Sci-Fi Recs? Do you have anything that you think we should watch that is somewhat loosely in some way related to Severance? We might put it on the docket. Also, if you feel so inclined to become a part of our Patreon, we are at patreon.com/theuurpod. You can join as a free member to get some extras. You can also join the Severed Floor, become a paid member for all extended cuts, video cuts of the episodes, early access to the episodes, and various bonus content. And also, as always, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast. We appreciate it so much.
We do appreciate it. Unlike Dan, who doesn't appreciate his wife. Okay.
Not Dan Erickson, Dan the character in this movie.
Dan in this movie, not Dan Erickson. Dan Erickson is a treasure and a delight. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode. This has been the UUR. And remember, all work and no play, it's not healthy. Kind of hate that I quoted Dan at the end. Oh, God.
Yeah, I was like, you ended on a Dan quote. Do the other one.
Okay, all right, we'll change it. All right, do the other one. Okay. This has been the UUR. And remember, almost all of us self-destruct. Yeah, I like that better.
Yeah.
Boo, Dan.
Boo, Dan.
Get no love here.